If you've ever been excited for the NFL schedule release, today's your lucky day because it's NFL schedule release day. Also, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Benzinga's pre-market playbook, this time for Wednesday, May 14th. It's hump day. We're going to cover all the stuff that's going on, cover some movement here, take a look at some stocks to trade. I'm going to break everything down for you. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, May 14th starts right now. Morning and welcome back, folks, and happy Wednesday or hump day or schlump day or whatever it is that you call it. Hopefully you are having a good day. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Charles, good morning. Good morning, Ryan. What's gotten into SMCI? It's up $7 today. Well, you're in luck, Charles. We are actually going to cover SMCI. It looks like we had some insiders getting options last night or exercising options. We'll break it down. SMCI has actually been on a pretty good run, and a couple of the folks in the chat were asking about that one. So really good stuff. Lucy is also going to get covered. Charles, good morning. It's great to see you. Hellcat, good morning. Welcome back. Federico, welcome back. Good to see you. Pete is locked in. Good morning, Pete. Great to have you back here. All sorts. Are we in for another good day? Brother, I woke up and was breathing, and I still feel great. And I've chosen to be happy today. So yes, we are in for a great day, and we're not going to let anything stop that. Right, my man? Couch Potato, good morning. Welcome back. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning and welcome back. CA Forsman out here already doing trading. I love the early morning, folks. That is awesome. Got a small Tesla short at 343. Okay. And SMCI long at 44.81. Chris, we'll check in on both of those here today. Peen, welcome back. Good morning. NEXN looking good. Nice call, Tuna. Tell you what, took a little bit of that just to see. I'm going to sell that here today. Nexen also reported earnings here today. Looks like it printed a high of 1265 in the pre-market. Indeed, that was a good call. Peen, good to see you making some money off of that. Brett, guten Morgen. I don't speak German, but good morning, Brett. Good to see you. Producers locked in as always. Ivan, good morning. Maudib, good morning. Dodger fan. That's all I saw there. Bernhard, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Ed, good morning. Chuck, Wiss, and Tyler, good morning. ATL Russ, good morning. Tanya, good morning. Good to see you again. Dermolg, good morning. Yaso Fine, good morning. Javon, good morning. Yassine and ADL, good morning. Big Abees locked in. Good morning. We're going to make some more winning today. That is for sure. MS, good morning. Terlingua. Good morning. That rolls off the tongue. I absolutely love it. Lion, good morning. Catherine, good morning. Catherine from Texas, right? Good morning. Neville, good morning. Brandy is back. Philip, Glenn. All right, let's roll, folks. Really good stuff here. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Mike. It's great to see you again. Let's take a look at the SPY. Here's where we're at as we continue our march towards all-time highs. Do we set them? I don't know, but we are sure making a comeback here. Last time we checked in, we were really looking to close again above the 5% pullback level. We got that. And it looks like we're setting up for another one here. S&P futures up 0.16% here in the pre-market. Dow futures about flat, up 0.03%. And the NASDAQ here up 0.25% this morning. So we'll see where everything goes. We do have some earnings today, had some earnings this morning, but none of them really big. The big day is tomorrow with Walmart, John Deere, and Alibaba. Also Ondas. Who's nervous about that? Anyway, that's happening tomorrow. Just a quick look here at the SPY. One of the levels we should absolutely be paying attention to here today, I think, is going to be 592.5. This actually represents a support level from when we were chopping around near all-time highs. Would love to see us kind of recapture that. I also think there might be some resistance up here at about 597. So let's talk about 592.5 to 597 as being a pretty significant resistance area. You can also see that we have some pretty decent volume up there. The volume shelves are pretty big, really from where we're at now going all the way up to what is this, 610-ish? That 610-ish area. And then going back to the fall of last year, our volume point of control is still at 600. 605. So I do think this 592.5 to 597 area is going to represent some resistance. I do think we'll also see some resistance around the $600 round level as well. So factor that in. I think we got to clear both of those things out. I don't know what has gotten into my cat, but he is wild. So this is kind of where we're at with the SPY. We'll see where we end up closing here today. The high print of the last or of yesterday, including the after hours session, is 589.08. All right, so that 589, we'll see if we can get above that here today. I do think there will be more resistance at the 592.5 if we're able to continue moving up that way. Downside levels here, still the same one. I guess we would definitely want to look for yesterday's intraday lows. That pretty much corresponds to the pre-market lows, but then also the 582.30 or 582.50 level that represents the 5% pullback from all-time highs. That would be a level that we definitely want to close over today. All right, let's take a look at the Benzinga morning update. Crude oil inventories here at 10:30. We also have Fed's Jefferson speaking at, I think, 9:10. Tomorrow we have PPI, retail sales, Philly Fed data, Natty Gas, Powell's speech, manufacturing, production, and business inventories. So again, today is kind of light in terms of the economic and earnings. There's a quick glance at the pre-market here. Again, we're kind of greenish, but close to flat. Don't want to get too excited about that. Really, we want to hold that too. Upcoming IPOs. Now, this is an interesting one. eToro. This is a company that y'all should be familiar with. They are IPOing here today. That IPO was priced between 46 and 50. And that, I guess, opens for trade here today. So we also have this KWM, K-Wave Media. I don't think that one is going to be nearly as big or followed, I guess, as eToro, ticker ETOR. That's going to be eToro Group. So we'll look for that here today. As far as the company events go, we do have this Bank of America Securities 2025 Global Healthcare Conference. Several of you have been talking about some of the biotechs being hot recently. There is this healthcare conference, so it looks like some of these might end up moving. Jazz is one that we've traded before, we've talked about before. EXAS, Exact Sciences. This gets asked about occasionally. We've traded Fold before. Clove, we have legitimate inquiries about Clove, as well as the Clove spammers that like us for some reason. So there's definitely a BCRX. I can't remember if this is the good one, bad one, or some other one. There's and Sarepta's in here. There's a bunch of stocks that we've looked at or talked about before that are participating in this conference. So we might get some more news out of that. We also have the annual meeting of stockholders for Harley Davidson and Two Harbors, which I'm not sure what that is, and an annual general meeting here for Hefnia. As far as analyst initiations go, we had Wayfair here. That was initiated with a sell by Loop Capital. Wayfair feeling it today, down 2.6%. Rivian hit with a hold from Jefferies. This is backing off 1.34%. And Airbnb got a hold from Needham. That's about flat. Airbnb CEO was on CNBC earlier today. They're offering services as part of their business. You can book an Airbnb for vacation, and then you can also book a masseuse if you want through Airbnb. That I think one of the things that they were saying here is that you can also now use Airbnb in your hometown, right? You obviously wouldn't get an Airbnb in your hometown, but you might want to get a massage in your hometown. And it looks like Airbnb is trying to capitalize off that, not just capitalizing off users that want to have a vacation or something like that, really trying to fold services into their offering there. So that's what we got here as far as downgrades go. Not a whole lot. Or we talked about the Rivian and the Wayfair, but outside of that, not really a whole lot. We did get a buy rating on PVH. I think somebody's asked about this before, but I can't place it. And then as far as earnings go, we did have Sony this morning. And like I said, there's not a whole lot here. I guess we got RCAT here after the market closes. Let me know for those of you that are still holding RCAT. As mentioned, we do have Ondas tomorrow morning. Ondas trading up here in the pre-market, which is nice to see. Also, Jack in the Box reporting earnings. So none of that really exciting stuff, but that's what's going on here. Okay. Good morning to everyone else that I missed. Rick, Diamond, Vikram, Kayla, all of that. Jane, Rooster, Dan, anyone that I missed. Harris, JJ, good morning. Tanya is asking, can you talk China names? I mean, we can take a look at that, sure. But what names? Give me some more context there, Tanya. Give me some more direction there, and we can absolutely do that. Okay. And let's see if I missed anything else here. Good morning, Judge. Great to see you, as always. All right, let's go ahead and go through some of the news here. We'll start here with this. U.S. stock futures trade lower on Wednesday. Really quickly, a positive inflation report for April and easing trade concerns boosted investor sentiment, but the tech sector gains were largely driven by chipmaker NVIDIA. Company stocks soared thanks to both the expected overhaul of chip regulations and a new collaboration with Saudi Arabia. That came from yesterday's meeting there. I guess Trump is in Doha here today, so we might get some more headlines out of that. Those might pertain to energy more than anything else. Quick note here, where is that? Oh, come on. I can never find this. There we go. 10-year treasury yielded 4.45. The 2-year bond was 3.99. Those are still holding a little bit higher there. Some stats here from Ryan Dietrich. Don't worry, folks. I went on both sides of things here today. So don't you worry. If you're a bear, don't worry. If you're a bull, don't worry. Everyone's gonna have a good day here today. According to Ryan Dietrich, chief market strategist for the Carson Group, a recent market observation is signaling potential for further gains. Dietrich noted that on Tuesday, over 60% of S&P 500 components reached new 20-day highs, highlighting the historical bullish implications of this infrequent event. As Dietrich stated in a post on X, this is quite rare and rather bullish. Strong performance across the board and higher a year later, 18 out of 18 times. Let's go. The market is flashing another bullish signal that could indicate even more gains ahead, according to Dietrich, chief market strategist from Carson Group. Dietrich observed on Tuesday that more than 60%, I just read that. What the hell? This is quite rare and rather bullish. Strong performance across the board leads to a higher market. Now, the tweet itself, here you go. And here's the chart. And this is what he's talking about. 12 months later, out of 18 times that this scenario has happened, the market is higher 18 of those times. 18 out of 18, 100%. Nice to see here that someone's living up to a bet that they made. IOU and Suvasagisi, Sonus Vargisi, a steak dinner. Nice to see people paying off their bets. I've got a steak dinner bet that I'm going to be collecting on, I believe, at the end of the year here, but we'll save that for when the time is right, if you will. So, okay, some bullish news there. Bears, you feeling left out? No problem. I got you here. Gordon Johnson warns of potential Liberation Day 2.0. Oh, we're even going to evoke Trump names for it to really get those bears fired up. You know how this works. As 30-year Treasury yields approach 5% amid dollar weakness, prominent financial analyst Gordon Johnson has ignited a discussion on social media suggesting that a potential Liberation Day 2.0, an event triggering a significant equity market downturn, could be imminent. The CEO and founder of GLJ Research, wanted to make sure I got that one correct. Johnson comments come as the yield on the 30-year Treasury note edges closer to the critical 5% mark, coinciding with a weakening U.S. dollar. In a series of posts on X, Johnson engaged with other financial commentator, Capital Flows, regarding the interpretation of rising interest rates, while acknowledging the argument that higher 30-year yields could signal increased U.S. growth and inflation. Johnson questioned the concurrent decline of the dollar index. Quote, if rates are rising while the dollar is falling, is that not indicative of stagflation and money leaving the U.S.? He also challenged the comparison of the rising German 30-year yields, attributing it to a repricing of risk following the new government, given Germany's relatively low debt to GDP ratio. Johnson then drew parallels to a past market event. He pointed to the confluence of factors, including the previous administration's trade policies with China and the current Republican Party's proposed budget, which he say would lead to $4 trillion increased deficit. Look out, folks. According to Johnson, these factors have contributed to the surge surge in yields to levels that previously prompted former Treasury official Scott Bessent to implement Liberation Day 1.0, an action that significantly spooked the stock market. His concern centers on the idea that the bond market previously demonstrated its power to pressure the prior administration when 30-year yields approached 5%. And that is when Donald Trump-led administration announced a 90-day pause in reciprocal tariffs. So there you go. There's a bear case for you, if you will. With yields nearing that threshold again, Johnson questioned whether the current Treasury officials can allow equity markets to continue their upward trajectory, pushing Treasury yields higher and potentially jeopardizing the refinancing of over $8 trillion in U.S. debt due in 2025. As the publication of this piece, the 30-year Treasury as of the publication of this particular piece, the 30-year Treasury yield 4.91%, while the 10-year yields were 4.46, and the 2-year was 3.99. So there you go. Plenty of that. China in general, but okay, got you, Tanya. Let me add those here to the list. We can take a look at those. Why China stocks? Are you thinking there's a rebound there? What are you thinking on this? But yes, added them to the list here. Okay, let's see. Let's go next here. So we talked a little bit about eToro. Here's a little primer for you. eToro set for NASDAQ debut. Crypto and stock trading platform announces an upsized IPO price at $52 per share. That's probably the key takeaway here. They had an IPO. Now they're upsizing it a little bit. We've seen this with some of the IPOs. It'll be interesting to see if this is one of them that goes on a huge run. Or not. Cryptocurrency and stock trading platform eToro Group priced its upsized initial public offering at $52 per share on Tuesday, ahead of its Wall Street debut. Israeli firm offered 11.92 million shares at $52 apiece, above its target range of 46 to 50. The offering includes 5.9 million Class A common shares sold by eToro and 5.9 Class A common stocks sold by the existing shareholders. The shares are expected to begin trading on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange on Wednesday under the ticker ETOR, according to the statement released by the company. So I'm sure we're going to check in on this if it is trading by the time or while we're still on the show. Again, this crypto angle here, firm, higher than the priced range, could absolutely be fireworks here. I don't have any order out to participate in the IPO. I would be buying shares on the open market just like you folks would be. And I don't really have like a line on this platform or anything. So that would be a short-term trade for me. But curious if any of you are looking into this or maybe have been waiting for this one, let me know. This is one of those. One of the bigger ones, one of the more recognizable ones that we've talked about recently. Okay, let's talk about SMCI now. Y'all folks seem to be ready to go here with SMCI. Oh, that's right. My platform changed all this stuff. All right, let's go ahead and share the screen. And let's take a look here at SMCI. And yes, it is a Tim Melvin day. We do expect him here today. Let me just make sure he hasn't reached out and said, I can't make it. No, we should be good. We should be good with Tim here in about 12 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that. Okay, here's your SMCI chart. Now, we're going to start here with the chart because the stock performance has really drawn a lot of eyeballs to the stock, and rightfully so. This stock is really just kind of trading sideways here. We've been in this parallel channel since March of last year. We've really kind of traded down here. We stopped right around here. Remember, this had all of that accounting and those accounting issues. They dropped their auditor. They got a new auditor. They finally released that stuff. Maybe that's all behind us. Maybe. In fact, I'd be curious to know what you folks think about that. Is this all behind us, or is this something else that we might need to do here, or that we might need to consider here? The end result of the price action here sure looks like it found a bottom, right? Looks like it did bottom at this 17 handle. And then furthermore, we actually got some sideways consolidation here, pretty much right above 30. I know we peaked below 30 a couple of times, but basically we consolidated around 30. We did have one run here that took us above the top end of the channel as well as the 200-day, but unfortunately we gave that back pretty quickly. The good news about giving that back is we actually found some support there at the 50-day moving average, and we kind of traded sideways again. Now, recently we've popped here. We've popped above the 200-day, which is great. We popped above the volume point of control, which I believe was right around 32. If you go back a little bit further, let's see what it is. 32 to 41s. This area really has a whole bunch of volume in it. We popped above all of that, and it does look like we're trying to challenge the 500-day moving average. Got that value at 47.17. So chart here actually looking pretty good. Now it is a little overbought. We're RSI currently at 70, Williams percent R also flashing overbought. It could remain like this for a day or two, though. The other thing here is that I still think you're set up for some bullishness here. If the chart's able to stay between this $40 level, the 200 days 39.87. I'm rounding that up, but this $40 level and between the 500-day here up at 47. So 40 to 47. I think even if we trade sideways in that range, SMCI is likely going to try and break higher here. That would be my guess, but we'll see. Let's take a look at the story here. Day trader, SMCI cut back the scope of a large product in their base city where I live. To me, this indicates they are cutting spending, and the market may like that. Okay, this is an awesome read through, and I appreciate this. This in the city that you live, you're obviously local to that. I appreciate this take. Maybe that actually would be pretty good for the stock, right? And that would actually fit into our move higher here. One thing to note, by the way, if we do break this 500-day moving average and we hold above that, the next high here is really in the 60s. So we've seen this stock move like crazy in both directions before. Maybe we're setting up for another upside move here today. Interesting. All right, let's take a look at the story that I have for you. SMCI stock is in, quote, a sweet spot, end quote. That comes from Raymond James as they set a $41 price target as AI revenue hits 70%. Okay, let's dive in here real quick. Raymond James has initiated coverage on Supermicro Computer with an outperform rating. This move comes in light of Supermicro's strong standing in the AI optimized infrastructure sector and its swift revenue growth. AI platforms constitute approximately 70% of Supermicro's revenue, positioning it as a dominant player among branded server vendors. Day trader, that large project, is it AI based? Is it something around AI? Let me know. And yes, HIMS and Hood. Yes, I feel like we look at those stocks every day, so we'd be happy to add those to the list again. Tyler. Where was I? Positioning as a dominant player. Raymond James set a $41 price target on the company, projecting Supermicro's full year 26 revenue at $29.8 billion with an EPS of 303, indicating a compound annual growth of over 25%. That would actually be pretty good. Raymond James highlighted that Supermicro has effectively carved out a niche for itself and, quote, positioned itself in a sweet spot, end quote, between traditional IT-based vendors such as Dell and Hewlett-Packard. I know we've talked about Dell here before. Dell actually, in its recent move down, had quite a great reset of its price to earnings ratio. I think that was actually under 10 for a little bit. That's pretty sweet. And contact manufacturers like Quanta. The firm noted while Supermicro has shown impressive growth, its valuation was impacted by past performance inconsistencies. That's a nice way of saying it. And internal control issues, which caused delays in SEC filings and auditor changes. Never something that you want to see, but it does look like they at least navigated through those, can we call them dark times, cloudy skies, whatever you call them. These problems have since been resolved with no misconduct found. Day trader here saying, yes, the SMCI project that was cut back was a large building for them, and that was quite elaborate. They cut it back to a more modest design. So it looks like that almost feels like kind of a demand drop, right? They had this vision. We're going to need this center to accommodate X amount of demand. Now we're cutting that back, so it seems like demand might be down a little bit as well. Okay. They expanded like crazy here over the last 3 years. Okay. There you go. All right, let me finish up here with this. The firm noted Supermicro's impressive. Here we go. CEO Charles Liang said the company isn't providing fiscal 2026 guidance due to tariff-related uncertainty, noting that, quote, economic uncertainty and tariff impacts may have a short-term impact, end quote. Despite these financial setbacks, Raymond James remains optimistic about Supermicro's future, particularly due to its robust position in the AI-optimized infrastructure sector. The firm's bullish stance is further supported by Supermicro's plans to expand its U.S. manufacturing to produce 1,500 liquid-cooled AI racks per month. SMCI stock surged 16.02% to a close of 38.89 on Tuesday. On a year-to-date basis, it has soared over 29%. And as we just took a look on the chart, it actually looks like it might be gearing up for some more upside there. So we shall see. That is SMCI. I'm sure we're going to take a look at that earlier. Paul saying on eToro, I'll place a market on open order with a tight stop loss. If it keeps going up, I'll quickly adjust my stop accordingly. I will exit either way today. I think that's a really smart way to play it, right? And we talk about that all the time on some of the shorter term trades. Once it starts to move in your direction, really you can just raise your stop and kind of put your feet up at that point. So I think that's a good plan, Paul. Let me know how it goes. Hopefully that's open while we're still on the show here. All right, let me go back to Pro. It's Wednesday, and so it's one of the favorite days of the week here for this group, that's for sure. We're going to bring on Tim Melvin and see how he's doing. Tim, good morning, my man. Happy Wednesday. Great to have you back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How is everybody today? We're off to an interesting start again this morning with all the news and the weirdness, and we'll see what it brings us. It's been a fun week so far, and it's only Wednesday.
It absolutely has been a fun week. I'm really thrilled because as far as I'm concerned, my weekend's tomorrow when I have my root canal, which is going to suck. I will say that last night, really thrilling victory by my Cubs, who were down most of the game.
Yeah, they were.
So that was pretty cool. So it has been a pretty interesting week. We'll see what we make of it.
The Orioles had one of the best outcomes they've had in a while. They got rained out last night. Now, before we start, I want to. There's something that's been bothering me since the last show, and I've got to deal with it.
Oh no,
because it annoyed me. Somebody said last week that they were still buried in the uranium miners ETF that I told them to buy. Guys, the only thing I've ever said
I missed that comment completely.
Yeah, the only thing that I've ever said about uranium miners was that you could buy Cameco with a tight stop because it had great momentum, and that if you were going to play the miners, you had to have a very tight stop on these stocks. I said that in one of the first shows that we did together. I've said all along that the uranium play is going to take a long time to play out, and the way to do it is to buy physical uranium on weakness. Now, guys, all my stock picks aren't going to go up, and occasionally you'll jump into one of my picks and you'll lose a couple bucks. All right. But I'm only going to take the hit for the ones I actually put out there.
Fair enough, Tim. First of all, okay. I appreciate you taking the hit for any of them. If you were a X or a Twitter trader, you would never lose and you would never have to take responsibility. That's not how we do things around here.
I'm amazed at all the traders out there that have never had a losing trade and yet somehow cannot get the hell out of their mom's basement. It doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, guys, this is a big week. This is if you're an investor or even a trader, this is one of your 4 favorite weeks of the entire year. This is Christmas times 4. I'm talking about 13F filings. Okay. 13Fs are filings that all the money managers and everybody with more than about $12 in the market, actually it's 100 million, have to report what they own at 45 days after the end of the quarter to the SEC. All right. If you take this quarter's filing and compare it to last quarter's filing, you can see what the smart money was actually doing and not just saying on CNBC. Now, we've been tracking these since the 80s. We actually used to have to write to the Securities and Exchange Commission and get written filings back. The mailman loved us back then.
I bet.
And then, and we'd sit there with little highlighters going through the filings, and it was a blast. But eventually, of course, now it's online, and we get the filings as soon as they come in. All of the news, Ryan, is going to be about what did Bill Ackman buy? What did Warren Buffett buy? Mm-hmm. What did Kathy Woods buy? And let me tell you something about that. I don't care. All right. I have nothing in common with Kathy Woods at all. Warren Buffett has been a great investor and a great businessman. He is a 94-year-old man at
Yeah.
this point who's looking to preserve capital and pass it off to the next generation. That's kind of not how we do things around here. What I've gotten really, really good at over 3 decades is identifying those managers who are sitting out there consistently making money, but they're not on Twitter and they're not on TV, right? So they're the ones just sitting out there cranking out returns year after year after year. Almost nobody knows about these guys unless you're a deeply addicted market junkie like all of us. So I want to jump in, throw out some names. Ryan, we're going to need you. Your ticker fingers are going to have to be going here now because we're going to have them flying out this morning. Okay.
All right, we are
Now,
warmed up. Let me ask you, before we dive into the rush here, do you want to take a victory lap at all? You want to do any victory lap at all for LC? Which
see, I thought about that. But it was like, which victory lap do I want to take this morning, guys? I don't know. There's Land C, which is a better than 100% gain for those of you that have played along, but it's better than that because one of our pound the table, beat people over the head, try to force them to buy it, stop people in the street and beg them to buy stocks over the last few years has been Hallador Energy, HNRG. We put people into this originally at 7. It's had a good couple of weeks.
I'd say.
So which victory lap do I want to take? But
I'm just saying it's one of the things that I've noticed with the internet is that if you say something that ends up being wrong or going the wrong direction, boy, oh boy, do you hear about it.
Well,
and the opposite seems to be true when you make, much like you were just saying about those fund managers that are cranking out returns, but they're not out being talking heads on CNBC or loudmouths on Twitter. I'm just saying, giving you an opportunity. We keep it fair and balanced around here.
See, but this goes all the way back to when I was a broker, okay, in the 80s even. And John Spooner, who, if you've never read John Spooner's books, when we get off this call, go to Amazon and order them. They're great. He was a stockbroker in New York that just wrote some hysterically funny books. But the process is this. When you put somebody into a stock, they'll call you a week later and they'll say, how's my IBM? I own it. It's mine, not your idea. My IBM. Okay. Now they call you 2 weeks later and the stock's down a little bit, or it's up, or it's up. No, it's how's our IBM. Now the bottom falls out of the market. The stock's down 25%. What's the call? How's your damn IBM doing in my account today? So this just kind of goes on and on and on. It's eternal in the markets. But now let me start off telling you about a firm that you really need to be watching. This firm is going to be so boring for your money. It's ridiculous, right? They're going to bore you all the way into obscene amounts of prosperity. Donald Smith and Company, really exciting firm name, right? Has been around since 19. This is the money manager.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, and they been following them forever because Donald Smith is one of the only firms out there that specializes in the Tim Melvin approach to buying stocks, buying the stocks that are cheapest based on price to book value. He focuses on the bottom 10% of the market by price to book. It's boring. I mean, it's crazy boring stuff, right? But since 1975, he's compounded at 15% a year. That's not boring. And more importantly, in bad years, he tends to do very well. So when we look at his buy, and he always files his 13F early. He doesn't play any games. He just gets it out of the way and moves on. Donald has passed on recently, but his team uses the same approach. Now, their top 5 picks, you got those fingers ready, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Harley Davidson, HOG, for the first time in my career that I recall, is trading below book value. Harley is also in the middle of a proxy fight. There is an activist firm that is very correctly pointing out that the average tenure of the board members is forever and 4 days. They've all been there a very long time. They do not own a lot of stock, and they've kind of destroyed one of our iconic American brands.
They sure have.
It's the thing with Harley is that, guys my age still ride Harleys, and even when you see the biker gangs, right? These are all now 50-year-old dudes on Harleys. So they've done a bad job of moving that back down the age bracket. They need to get some fresh blood in there that can do that. In the meantime, for this brand, this stock is ridiculously cheap, trading below book value, single digits PE ratios. They should actually kind of, they're an American motorcycle company. If the tariffs actually were to hang around a lot longer, that probably benefits them a little bit. You've got a little bit of a dividend, but if they get a reworking of the board and some people that are better at brand building overseeing Harley, and maybe they start buying back some stock and doing some other fun stuff, this is a stock should probably be at 3 times book and 25 times earnings. So there's massive upside in this stock. At the same time, the valuation at this point, I think you could scrap Harley and sell it off and walk away with a profit. So that's kind of worth paying attention to.
Well, also really quick here, they have an annual meeting of shareholders today.
Right. And
I'm not sure what's expected out of that, but that's actually happening today.
Nobody knows because one proxy firm went for management and the other major, because there's 2 major proxy firms in the United States. The other ones suggested going with the activists. So it all depends how those vote comes out. They're going for 3 board seats, including the CEOs.
Okay. So, and looking at the chart here, by the way, 33 to 36 seems to be an extremely heavy area. We're down here at 25. So to your point about anything turning around here, this is probably 7, 8 points pretty fast. So, okay.
Right.
Good stuff with Hog. Sorry for slowing you down. I'm ready.
That's right. Eldorado Gold.
Ticker?
I'm EGO. I'm not a gold guy. I've never really kind of bought into the whole gold bug theory and thesis. I'm one of those rare.
Sorry, ticker EGL? No.
EGO.
EGO. Sorry. I'm having a tough time, Tim. I'm having a tough time.
As in, oh my, it's a gold stock. And he's had a lot of gold in the portfolio over the years, but he doesn't buy it necessarily on the gold bug story. They're businesses that happen to be gold miners that are trading below book value. So Eldorado Gold has had a run. It's pulled back now that gold's pulled back. But look, this stock is still trading at just 90% of book. There's going to be a massive earnings increase this year. So the stock is trading, pretty cheap. If gold should continue to go higher, and there's still the potential for an enormous amount of global disruption. So, very good. You could make a case for gold, even though I won't because I don't believe it. I just think it's a great business trading below book value.
Okay.
So the other one that I'm going to mention from Donald Smith, and then we'll move on, is Tudor Perini. This has everything that I like in a stock, right?
Ticker?
TPC. Now, TPC has since flown a bit higher, but it should be on your radar screen. Everybody's they've turned it kind of into a momentum stock. They are a large contractor. They build civil infrastructure, and they've been accused of cost overruns and self-dealing and being involved in the mafia and all sorts of stuff. But the stock, it has been very cheap and is now starting to get its due, and it's more of a momentum stock. But it's a stock we've liked off and on over the years. Had you bought it when it was trading below book in the first quarter, you would have done extremely well over the last several weeks. So I wanted to kind of highlight that one.
Now, Tim, real quickly here, I'm going to ask you the tough question, and I'm sorry in advance for this, but with TPC making a 12-point move in the last 7 days, is this maybe one we should add to a watch list and add on pullbacks, or are you saying just...
Yeah, okay. No, it's what I want. I'm sorry, I did a bad job of that. What I wanted to highlight here was that this stock was trading below book value earlier in the year. And if you'd stepped in and bought it, I mean, you would have made a rather obscene profit in a relatively short period of time. What tends to happen with a lot of these stocks, because I can tell you that they've been buying Perini for the last several years. You buy these price to book value stocks, if they've got quality fundamentals and it's a decent business, all of a sudden something's going to happen, a great earnings report, a turn in underlying economic conditions, a proxy fight, a massive insider buy, a takeover offer. Something happens to bring the stock back to the attention of Wall Street, and you get these kind of moves. So Tudor Perini was more of a highlighting how this could work for you.
Okay.
So anyway, Donald Smith and Company, you should be following it. Even if you're a swing trader, guys, just own these things till they break over the 20-day moving average and take the ride, right? Because then you're trading stuff that nobody else is trading.
And actually, that's exactly what really kind of sent this one from the break of that 20-day moving average. This was $21. So I beg your pardon, 14 points from that break of the 20-day moving average that you just mentioned. 14.
Yeah. Now, someone else that, and by the way, who's the poster child for owning stocks that do nothing or go down for years and then go up 5 to 10 times the purchase price is Manish Prabhai. Now, Manish is famous, of course, for paying a fortune for to have lunch with Warren Buffett for a charity deal, and he has done well. And he's had a huge tailwind because he's an Indian guy and he invests a lot of money in India. Okay. But looking at his portfolio, he's buying Noble Energy and then VAL, the two offshore drillers, and VAL is Valaris. Offshore drilling is ridiculously cheap, folks. And all of them, by the way, all of them went bankrupt in 2015, 2016, when oil plummeted and kept going down and everybody kept trying to drill their way out of this thing and was borrowing money to get through. Offshore completely dried up. Nobody needed it. The shale revolution comes along, really hits into high gear. You don't need offshore as much as you did. Now you're starting to need offshore. And here all these guys sit. They're reorganized, out of bankruptcy. The debt loads have been slashed by billions of dollars. So there's no longer a whole bunch of debt overhanging and trouble with interest payments. I know oil's down right now, and I know all of the reasons, so I'm not going to retell all the same stories that you've heard over the past couple of weeks. Fact of the matter is, oil demand over time is still going up, as is natural gas. The offshore drillers are going to see demand. There's also going to be M&A in the space because these are just too cheap. So Valaris and Noble Energy both.
What was Noble Energy's ticker?
NE.
NE.
And the one thing that Noble has going for it is an 8% dividend. Okay, but it's the same thing. They went bankrupt. They reorganized. They're generating massive amounts of free cash flow. They're in the offshore business, based out of Houston. It's a great company. They've got some serious investors who have really remade the board of directors of this company. They're committed to paying the dividend. They're doing everything that they need to do. At the same time, it's a less than $4 billion company. So for this thing to get bought by a larger drilling company would not be a surprise. And then
I got tangible book value per share at $29.33. Current price is at 24.
Oh yeah, this stock is dirt cheap, and
okay.
I guess full disclosure, we added this to the trade alert service somewhere right in around that nasty little bottom you see back in early April, because the price to book discount was just so large.
Yeah.
And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, the trade alerts, we do half of the stocks are deep value picks like this and half are momentum picks. And we have some formulas for when you tilt towards the momentum and when you tilt towards deep value. And let me see, what's the technical term? We've had a hell of a run over the last 4 weeks. If you're not already in that service, guys, come on, get with it. You need to be in it. So that's, and Prabhai is also buying the coal stocks. He's buying HCC. And then he's doing something else that I like. You guys, most people hate. He's buying Turkish stocks. And Turkey is one of the cheapest stocks in the world based on cash flow and earnings. And I get all of the stuff that's wrong with that, with the country and everything that's going on and the leadership. If I set all that aside, the market full of quality companies is really cheap. So I think there's some huge long-term opportunity in Turkey as well. So then the other one that I want to highlight here, because I know you guys like the tech stocks, you like the faster moving stocks. So let's do one that's going to make our CEO really happy, Ryan, because our CEO used to be with William O'Neill and Company. What most people don't realize is that even though O'Neill and Company and Investors Business Daily, the newspaper, was sold to Dow Jones, O'Neill and Company still goes on carrying on Bill O'Neill's legacy of buying fast growing companies and holding on to them as long as they're going up. So firm has filed their 13F. We've got a couple of tickers here we can go over for you.
Okay.
ATAT, which is Arbor Lifestyle Corporation. ATAT. It is a Chinese company. It's in the hotel business. They've been buying a bunch of it. China is in early stages of a strong recovery as far as the stock market there is concerned. Leaving all the politics aside, markets there's doing pretty good. Actually, all of their top holdings are Chinese companies. They're buying YMM, which is Full Truck Alliance Company.
YMM, you said?
Yes, YMM. And you feel free to comment on the charts, Ryan, because I rely on you for that. You're a much better chart guy than I am.
Okay, well, really quickly, just on these last two, on ATAT and YMM, both of these look like they are either going to break out or find some resistance right here. So this seems to be a pretty interesting spot. ATAT really made a move after recap. Look at this. We talk, Tim, when we talk about charts here a lot, I focus a lot on the 200-day moving average because it turns out to be extremely important. Look at what ATAT did. When it tried to retest this, it banged on it 3 or 4 times. But when it finally went, it went. So we actually might have some more upside here. 3250 looks to be the next spot here. ATAT also, as 13 is just not even waiting here. This also allows you to make a bunch of Star Wars jokes. So that's it. The rebels are there. So that's something else. If you're going to factor it in here. YMM, another good recovery. Stop me if you've heard this before. This really turned around at the 200-day.
Mm-hmm.
And this then, too looks like it might attack some of those highs, some of those recent highs. Those are all-time highs, it looks like.
And then finally, I think like the RBRK rubric, I think it's called.
Yep, this is one that I like. This is actually one of the smaller cybersecurity guys that is in fact breaking out. Unfortunately I missed this one. I tried not to highlight it because this was one of my misses. I talked about this in January as being a decent stock to own here this year, and I just didn't do it. Which kind of sucks. But anyway, RBRK.
Yeah. Okay, so then with O'Neill and Company, guys, you need to know that these are easy filings, right? I'm giving 3 per in case you can't tell here. But this is filed with the SEC. So you can just go to sec.gov or one of the many services around the web that make these 13F filings available. And you can see what the largest positions are, put them on the chart for yourself. O'Neill and Company, they're totally different in their approach to investing than I am. They are shooting the lights out under current market conditions. They are really, as you can see by their picks here, racking up huge gains. If I'm a trader, I want to be paying attention to these guys because the swing trade opportunities are massive.
Okay.
So, and you can just putting these together, as we've seen with a simple moving average system, really does, pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. Couple of things to clean up here from the chat. First of all, Judge, good morning. Great to see you. Kramer said on Mad Money yesterday, ATAT is a buy. I only bring this up because it's very rare that you and Kramer are in agreement, and that's a compliment to you. Sanctuary City Soldier says Kramer needs to watch this show. I would completely agree. I think he'd get better information here.
Yeah. I wrote a column one time years ago when I was writing for Kramer. And I said, something unusual has happened today. Jim Kramer and I agree, not just on a stock, but on a whole sector. And that was, by the way, that's the one thing I really liked about Kramer was I wrote for Real Money for a long time. And the man, we're as different as day and night. The man never changed a word of anything I wrote.
Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That is important to me, Tim. I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Yep. Lion here goes on to say, if Kramer said buy, then I'm selling.
Well, in this instance, Kramer and I were both really bullish on shipping stocks, and we were like the only ones in the universe. And they all of them tripled from that moment. So Jim and I being in agreement on anything, that's big. So
yeah, that's an indicator by itself.
That's big. Yeah, it might be something to that. So then the next one I want to talk to is Obendorf. This is an individual, William Obendorf. He made all of his money as a venture capital and tech investor in San Francisco. He's a huge political donor to different causes. He's in the news a lot because he's a conservative, which means he's a lone wolf in San Francisco. So he gets a lot of press for his political stuff out there in the city by the bay. But he's one of the best tech investors on the planet. He made a fortune doing venture capital, trying to use value investing principles in venture and tech, and he's done unbelievably well. So now I'm going to give you 5 of his because he's only got, I think, 9 stocks in the portfolio. Very concentrated guy. But he's been buying Datadog, DDOG.
That's been a great one.
Yeah. He's been buying MongoDB.
Another good one. MDB. Let me bring that up here. Sorry. Here, Datadog about to challenge that 200-day, by the way. Here's MDB. Someone asked about this not long ago. This looks like it's put in the bottom, has a potential gap fill up to the 200-day.
And then APPF, Appfolio.
This right at a pretty good consolidation spot. This one I don't trade very often, but this actually had a pretty interesting spot here. Okay.
And then one I've never heard of, Monday.com, MNDY. It's a $290 stock, so somebody's heard of it.
Yeah, we've heard of this one. I don't trade this one. It's sometimes called Mindy or Mandy just because of the ticker.
And then finally, Autodesk, ADSK. There's an old standby.
Yeah.
But the important thing to understand with a guy like Obendorf and with O'Neill and Company, right? These are the anti-Tims to a very large degree. They're the high growth guys. They're the momentum guys. But yet another paper came out this past week that said if you take everything in the market that works and doesn't work and has worked since the dawn of time, and you put them out and say what really does work, you subject them to something all of Twitter and the internet hates, data, and the 2 things that work and they always work are momentum and deep value. They both will go through long periods of underperformance. They both will get you fired if you're a stockbroker or money manager, but they work and they work very well. So 50% momentum and 50% value is a killer portfolio. And what's cool about it is they're both going to end up you're going to get high returns over time on both portions of the portfolio. But when one is zigging, the other is zagging. So you tend to smooth out the extreme volatility. So I do look on a regular basis at these growth-oriented investors that also have a momentum component to their portfolio because it works very well in conjunction with what I'm already doing on deep value.
And don't forget, you can scan for all of that stuff by using Pro. You also have access to Tim's portfolios and articles because you have access to Edge content. So Pro is really the way to kind of expand some of that, Tim, if anyone's interested in doing so.
Yes. And then a final one, and this is a guy that he graduated from Stanford back in the 70s, and he was an accountant, came out as an accountant, and ended up getting an account that he had to do the accounting on by a firm by the name of Tweedy Brown. And Tweedy Brown, for those of you that don't know, it is one of the most famous value investing firms in history. They were one of the firms talked about in Warren Buffett's famous speech about Graham and Doddsville, the super investors of Graham and Doddsville. They were originally Ben Graham's broker. Okay. And they figured out that Ben was making a fortune on these small illiquid stocks that they were buying for his account. And so they started keeping some on the side for themselves. And they eventually grew up. I think they're managing like $20 billion. They've gotten too big to be a shoot the lights out firm, but they do still steadily outperform the market. But back when Robati was auditing their books, they were still price to book value, special situations, price to net current asset value investment firm that was hanging huge returns. In the course of the audit, Robati had some conversations with Joe Riley. Now, you may have heard me talk about Joe Riley before because the best Joe Riley story on the planet, and it is one that I told a lot when the markets were selling off a few weeks ago. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the senior partner, William Brown, went to lunch. Everybody's around the TV watching Walter Cronkite tell them if they're all going to die today or not, because that really was the everybody was terrified. We were about to have a nuclear war with Russia during the missile crisis. Everybody's watching the TV, hanging on the last word, except Joe Riley. Joe Riley's on the phone and he's calling brokers and he's buying stocks and he's buying like crazy. And Brown looks at him and says, "What are you doing? I mean, the world could end." And Riley looks up and says, "That's exactly it. The world is going to end or it's not. If it ends, we're not going to care about these stocks that I bought today. If it doesn't end, these stocks are going to make us and our clients an enormous amount of money." We got scenario B, and the firm had one of the best years that they ever had. So Robati realized that Riley was really onto something with this, and it was basic accounting applied to stocks. He opened his own firm in 1983 after working with a partner for a while, and has steadily beat the market ever since, following a Graham and Dodd, Tweedy Brown type approach to the market. So looking at his top buys, you've got Asbury Automotive Group, ABG, which is car dealers. And everybody knows that, when nobody's buying any cars, probably won't ever buy them ever again. He's also in on the offshore trade, which is TDW, Tidewater. This is the whole offshore sector is one you should be watching. When it makes a move, the move is going to be epic. So you need to be aware of that one. They're also buying
Tidewater here real quick. This was actually a show favorite from a couple of years ago. We had one of our viewers in here that was talking about Tidewater every single day. That was back in a 30 handle. This thing ended up going 100 plus, and it's come back in. So I am. This came right back into a consolidation area. Everything about the price action right now makes complete sense. I'm glad to see this on a list. I actually asked the other day when the buy spot is for Tidewater. Sounds like we might be approaching that if we're not already there.
Yeah, and then Secor Marine, SMHI, is also on Robati's list. This is a nice $5 stock there, fund, and they just broke over the 20-day and the 50-day. The thing about offshore drilling and even offshore windmills, everything has to get out there, right? The people have to get out there, the food, the fan blades, the motor parts, everything has to get from the dock to the platform. That requires a boat. Secor provides the boat all over the world. They provide shipping services to the offshore oil and gas drilling, as well as some of the windmills. And they're everywhere in the world. They're in Africa, Europe, Middle East, Asia, Gulf of Mexico, Latin America. If they're drilling for oil and gas offshore, Secor is right there providing the boat. So this is a very cheap stock, trading at half a book. They are losing money at the moment, but they're well financed. It's no trouble of them, going out of business. So the business is weak, but it's two things are going to happen here. It's going to get better or they're going to get bought.
Okay. Chart wise, this thing really kind of came in from almost a double top, but almost kind of a triple top right back. This is again, another really good area. And you're right. Half of book value, actually a little bit less than half of book value right now. So, okay.
I got one more for you and then you can kick me off the show.
Nobody's kicking anybody off. Let's go with the other ones that you have though.
Okay. Legacy Housing Corporation, LEGH. They are out of Bedford, Texas, and they primarily build manufactured homes. But they started a new business, a side business that is in danger of overwhelming the whole company and being the focus of the business. They build tiny homes, and they build them. They have independent retailers and company-owned stores. They finance them. They sell directly to the manufactured home communities or to the consumers. This is a great business, guys. In case you didn't get the memo, we have a housing crisis in the United States on an affordability basis. I did see one of the speakers at the Milken conference last week, one of the largest owners of single family rental housing, said we are 5 million homes short of meeting the pent up demand for housing. That's because people, older people own most of the houses now. Over half of all homes are owned by people 55 or over. 60% of all mortgages are 4% or less. That's taken a lot of incentive out for people to put their existing home on the market and move. At the same time, the big builders are building big houses because they have big margins, and we just saw yesterday, Landsea, one of the few companies that really had a massive inventory for first-time home buyers. It's a great business. Somebody snapped it up to make it part of their operation. There's very few people building these manufactured homes, tiny homes, and first-time buyer homes. This is a powerful niche market. Now, insiders own 64%, so you're going to have to make one hell of an offer to buy this company. But given the pricing here at 10 times trailing and 8 times forward estimated earnings, 1.1 times book value, if I'm a private equity guy, I'm going to have serious thoughts. I might want to make a hell of an offer. Because the business is cheap. It's going to meet a need that's going to be there for some time. So that's one of the reasons we're so bullish on apartments, but that's a story for another day. The whole process of meeting all the demand for housing is going to take years, unfortunately. But Legacy Homes, LEGH, another great play in that particular space.
Okay. I went ahead and threw all those tickers in the chat. Day trader, no problem. I'll make a habit of doing this, Tim. Whenever you talk about these tickers, I'll just take notes and then I'll post them here for the chat. So I know we rolled through kind of a lot, kind of quickly here today.
That was a lot. And keep in mind that the deadline's tomorrow at 4:00. Okay. So, or I'm sorry, 5:00. You'll see most of the famous ones are going to dump in at the last moment. Buffett and Ackman and Icon and all those guys. But you've also still got a lot of folks to go here. Black Diamond comes to mind as just this off the radar money manager that is just continually knocking doubles and triples all over the field, making enormous amounts of money. So we'll do this again next week to help you build inventories of stocks that nobody else is trading, where some very smart people think that, and none of these people are buying for 10% moves. All right. They're looking for 2, 3, 4, 5 times their money.
Right. These are the wealth moves that we're all kind of looking for. These are the bigger wealth moves. Okay. Tim, thanks very much. That is awesome. Really appreciate it. Actually, looking forward to checking in with you next week as well.
We shall be back bright and early. And by the way, we've got the next Tuesday night. It's going to be you, me, and Marie again. We're going to get on. We're going to talk some stocks, talk some options. Guys, that's worth checking out. We have a lot of fun, and the information flow is phenomenal.
Yeah, and we also already have the name for that webinar, Junk Bonds and Black Swans. So if you want a little bit of tease there it is.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's always a delight to spend a little time with you on a Wednesday. We'll see you next Tuesday and next Wednesday. Have a good week, everybody.
All right. Take care. That is Tim Melvin, folks. Really great stuff from him, as always. Absolutely love that. Joe. Shoot. Joe said, roughly what spot price do you think it would take for some of the... I meant to ask him that before he got out of here. Joe, I'm sorry. Let me shoot him that via email, and I'll see if I can give you an answer before we sign off here today. He's very, very responsive to his emails when his grandchildren aren't bugging him. So we will take a look at that. I will try and get you an answer. I'm sorry I didn't get to that. Okay. Let's bring on 13. 13, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. How is everybody
We're doing good, man. We're doing, it's not evening.
No, it's just dark in my office a little bit.
We're doing really good here today. Just another day, another hump day here. We're going to break everything down. Now, before I get to the movers and some of the other stocks here. By the way, just as a heads up, I don't know if you want to do any preliminary charting here. Tanya has asked for us to take a look at some of the Chinese stocks. She listed JD, PDD, and TME as those. So we're going to take a look at those charts here in a little bit. But before I do that, I wanted to answer Shay LaVega's question. If a stock has already reclaimed the 250, 20, and 5 EMAs, is it too late to enter, especially for options? I often catch the move after it happens. How do you avoid chasing but still catch? So, okay, couple of things here. The very, very specific question. You're mentioning the EMAs. I'm actually going to start with the SMAs just because I feel like that's a little bit easier. We can talk about some of the EMAs as well. And I'm going to actually use Autodesk as one of the examples here. So here's an example. This actually has what looks like a near-term bottom put in. This actually, if we want to scrutinize the chart a little bit more, it actually looks like this has an inverse head and shoulders set up here a little bit. So and then kind of your neckline maybe right up here about what, 273-ish thereabouts. So you'll notice that when the price did end up moving up, it came, let me get the right tool here. It came right up to that 200-day. It was actually rejected at the 200-day. That's the blue line here. Then it popped above it, and you got this 3 days of consolidation right above the 200-day. So when you're asking about moving averages here, about reclaiming them, this is one of the things that I am looking for. Sometimes you'll hear me say, well, we need 2 or 3 closes above that moving average. Basically, what we're looking for is we're looking for the price to move above that and then treat that as a support, as opposed to using Anne Marie's parlance, peaking above that area and then dipping back below. We actually want it to reclaim and then hold that. So I would contest then that if you took an options trade on day 2 or 3 of this stock holding the 200-day, you did pretty good. And you did not bottom tick the move. You didn't buy it down here at the right shoulder. You didn't even buy it at the consolidation area up here at 270. Instead, you bought it at around 280. But look, this thing went to 297. So there's plenty of ways to do this. Now, as far as the EMAs that you're talking about, we traditionally use EMAs on intraday charts. So basically, the same thing can be applied here. It's just going to happen on a much faster time scale. I would imagine in that case, then you would, especially if you're using options, you might be getting stopped out of some of your positions more frequently. You might just have to be a more active trader on that. But basically, as far as recapturing here, and if you're talking about them moving over several of them, well, again, I go back to this example. We moved over the 20, we moved over the 50, we moved over the 200. We kind of paused there and consolidated a little bit. And then we went. That gave you plenty of time to enter. So let me know if this is helpful. You could, again, I really want to focus on this example because you could kind of say, well, the buy spot was right down here at 260, right? You confirm your bottom down here at 250. We get back to 260. That's your buy spot. And if you buy up here at 280-ish, you're chasing. I don't really know. It looks like you got some pretty good mile markers there on the chart. You're kind of waiting for these things to go. So I think it really depends on how you're looking at it. On the flip side, if we're looking intraday at some of these faster movers, I think it's you really don't want. I think at that point it becomes the length of the move, right? If something has just moved a tremendous amount, you're probably chasing at that point. If it starts to recapture some of these moving averages, I don't necessarily know that that's chasing. I think that that's constructive price action. Let me know if this answers your question or if that was helpful at all. 13, if you want to add to that, please do.
Yeah, just a couple of things. When it comes to these EMAs, I don't really think there's like a one size fits all approach because you'll have some stocks that just go sideways for a while. And those EMAs are kind of going to all be in the same area. You get a breakout, you're going to have the price above all those EMAs. And that might just be the beginning of the price action that you're going to see in that stock. Alternatively, with something like ADSK, it's taken a matter of time to move through some of those SMAs and also the EMAs as well. But another thing to watch for is how far extended away from these EMAs the price is getting. Because if it's just broken out and it's kind of hanging out, kind of going sideways and consolidating above a particular moving average, it might just be getting ready for the next leg up. that's always a possibility. But if you're talking about a price being really extended away from all your EMAs, that's probably going to give you have you take a more cautious approach to trading that, maybe even go short, because we've observed many times that when a price gets way too far away and extended from its VWAP and its EMAs, tends to have a mean regression. So that's another thing to watch for if the price is getting extended away from these EMAs. Is that's going to be a signal to maybe not go long there, because it's quite extended and it could come back in.
Okay. Real good stuff there, 13. Do you want to just kind of knock out the movers here? Let's see. We've got 21 minutes.
Yeah. There's one I just want to mention real quick. That's Blue, BLUE. This is a merger, so there's nothing there.
Okay, so here, sorry, my thing got mixed up here. Let me take that here. So, okay, so BLUE, this is the third item in the movers list. There's nothing to cover here. It's a merger.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. There's the three that I basically took a good look at. First one was SEPN.
Okay, that's at the top of the list here. That's perfect.
Yep, this is Septerna. It's I mean, do you want to go through your?
That's fine. So Septerna, ticker SEPN. Septerna shares are trading higher after the company announced an exclusive global collaboration and license agreement with Novo Nordisk to develop oral small molecule medicines for obesity, type 2 diabetes, and other cardiometabolic diseases. Let me just pause right here. We got asked in the happy hour by a gentleman named Clarence if we were going to see any more of these GLP-1 headlines and how this might move stocks. We all said, yes, we are. Here's another one, happens to be happening today. A quick look here at the short interest on this. I do have a reading here, 12.4% of the float shorted here with 16.8 days to cover. That comes on 500,000 shares of average volume. We've traded just shy of 14 million prior to the market opening here. Floats about 25.7 million. The stock does have some coverage too. What do you think here, SEPN?
Yeah, so this has 25 million shares in the float. 12% of the float is shorted with 16 days to cover. The company has a lot of cash, so I don't think there's any real risk of a capital raise or share offering happening here. I'm just going to go right to the technicals because there's nothing really to look at much further under the hood with this. The company's okay. The price action is more interesting today, and it looks like we've traded up into a bit of a bull pennant, and it looks to me we're going to end up breaking out of that at some point. I think pretty soon here. That's at least what it looks like at this moment. The high is in the pre-market is 1227, and you could even draw a trend line from the highs. There you go. So that's kind of where I'm looking for the breakout to occur. Just need to continue to trade above VWAP, and the MACD is starting to show signs of curling. So it's really setting up and looking pretty good here. So what I would think happens is either we're going to get a breakout before we open or just after we open. It's the breakout looks like it's coming here. So I think just keep your eyes on this and trade this how you're going to want to trade it. But it seems like this is about ready to go here.
Okay, I basically drew that little triangle here, and it makes a pretty good looking flag.
Yep.
Just FYI. Okay, and then there was another question here earlier. Joshua Austin, where do I access the Tuesday if not webinar with that? Okay, there's a typo in there. I think what you're asking is where do I access the webinar that Tim just teased on Tuesday? Here is I just threw the registration link in the chat. Tim did actually tease that. Just understand when you actually click on that, the description hasn't been updated for Tuesday's webinar yet. So I'd be happy to give that again when the team updates it. Should be at the end of this week. It's Wednesday, so we probably will do that on Friday. But there's your link. You can register now. You'll be reminded about that. I'd be happy to give that out again as we get closer. Okay. All right. So next here is going to be Lucy. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. My bad.
With that SPN, the only thing about levels that I would have from here is if we do get this breakout, I think we could potentially see a run up to 1420. That's where the 200 EMA is on the daily. That would be that'd be the level I think with the breakout might lead us to. No guarantee that it does, but it seems like with the momentum that we could get out of this breakout, that's where I would peg the run to basically end. It could go higher, but that's about where I have the earliest resistance.
Okay.
So there. Yeah.
Okay, next here is going to be Lucy, and this is cool because we've talked about this one before on this show. We also talked about this in the happy hour last night as the news was breaking. Lucy, ticker LUCY, is innovative eyewear, and shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 sales results. The EPS was a 72-cent loss. That beat the 73-cent loss estimate. Sales here, 454.5K, missed the 1 million estimate, but this was still better than expected overall. Lucy up 54.5% here today. This was the company that sold those smart glasses on Target that we looked at. I don't know if that was the end of 2023 or 2024. I can't even remember now.
Last year.
It was last year, so it was 2024. Yeah. So here we go. This actually is a pretty good range here. Really sure looks to me like 290 to 345 looks to be the range it's been chopping around since it made this impulse move. Quick look around the horn here, 10.39% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That comes on an average volume of just about 500,000 shares. Today we've traded 18.5 million. Float on this stock, 1.79, so it's actually kind of small. 13, what do you think here on LUCY, Lucy?
So looking under the hood here at their balance sheet, they have about a quarter's worth of cash, and there is an offering on the table for just under 2 million shares. So this could be another one where we might see an offering happen pretty soon, as early as today. But I believe what I was reading from their form that they filed, that they could do this periodically. So it might not be all two. It's 1.988 million, but they could release those shares or offer those shares in tranches over time. So it might be that they end up doing as well. So just to have that information in the back of your head, if you're trading Lucy, they do have an offering on the table. They also have a 10% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. So might see a little bit of a squeeze, might not. I think the big move has already been put in. To me, when I look at the 5-minute chart here from yesterday when they reported going into today, really does look like we're starting to put in a topping out pattern, maybe a bit of a head and shoulders. So, and we are beneath VWAP right now. So for me, what I would need to see is if this is going to invalidate what this pattern appears to be here. So we're going to need to take out 350. I think I'd be comfortable with that level. First thing we have to do is get above VWAP. We're getting some support from the 65 EMA for now, but it really does look like this could lose $3 and go down to around 275, maybe a little bit lower before we start getting some strength in this.
Okay, good stuff there. LUCY, Lucy. Next here on the list, QNRX. I'm assuming this was the last one that you had here. The rest of these don't actually look all that great. QNRX here, Quonin. I screwed up. Quonin Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced initial clinical data from its ongoing investigator pediatric peeling skin syndrome clinical study. IPPSS, that sounds awful. Skin peeling. Gosh, that's terrible. Impulse move took us to 13. We've retraced about 50% of the move. We're actually using the VWAP as resistance here and finding support on the 15 EMA on that 5-minute chart. Quick look at the short interest here. Negligible. 0.1% on the percent of float shorted and 1 day to cover. There's barely 50,000 shares held short in this one. On average, it trades 206,000 shares. Today, it's traded over 6 million. So this is going to be one of those. Be careful. If you get into this, you might have trouble getting out of this if it's not a big day. So maybe make this one of your shorter term trades. Float here, 19 million. What do you got, 13?
I think and I think the producer's also helping with this, but it might be pronounced coin, not coin, but like put a QU in there like queen, but
coin
sound like groin, coin. Anyway, so QRX003 initial data. This particular drug in the pipeline has got 4 different clinical trials going on with it. The most furthest along is the cohort for the Netherton syndrome, but this is for the peeling skin syndrome, which is currently going into phase 1. They have cash for about a year, and the float has 19 million shares. But the Netherton syndrome is currently in phase 3. So there's going to be some future headlines coming from this company that will also cause us to move the price. But today we're just getting information about the peeling skin syndrome. You can also find this information on their website. They have a pipeline drop down that you can check out. And that's basically what is going on with this one. So we're going to be getting some future headlines. The stock is currently trading underneath VWAP. It's been getting suppressed by VWAP all morning, even after the impulse move that took it up to 1288. It still has that task of recapturing VWAP before this is going to get going anywhere. So I think, and it's okay that this hasn't really gone much higher into the pre-market. That's okay, because we've observed how some of these movers in the morning, they run into the open and then they end up selling off. That's okay with this being down here. So that means that there still might be a move coming. Let's just see what happens, at the open, because there could also be some selling. And if it does sell, then that might set up a better opportunity for us to take a trade in this.
Okay. Really good breakdown there. QNRX, however it's pronounced. This Moj saying, shouldn't we be talking about United Health? Tell me it's your first day being here without saying, this is my first day. We're happy to have you. We have been talking about United Health on a regular basis, as well as asking the guests. So I'm sure you can assume we're going to be taking another look at UNH here today. We're going to keep breaking down the movers. I think we've got one more here to do. Nope, this one looks like it gave it back.
Yeah, WY and HWH I took a glance at, but they may not move as well as some of these other ones. Yeah, Pete,
ICCT, this was a former mover from yesterday. This is trading up here in the pre-market today. BBAI, this got mentioned by somebody else earlier. This had a good day yesterday, having another strong pre-market here today.
Yeah, and then Pete was mentioning, what was he mentioning?
UNH.
He was roaring back today. So yeah, we got because we got close to 300. Where King Leonidas is hanging out at, but now we're rebounding. We're back up at 325.50. It looks like, kind of just in the middle of this channel here. So could end up with an inside candle if we don't trade outside the high. I'm sorry, the open and the close from yesterday. I think that this might be a day where you'd want to see this consolidate, because that would be the start of a potential bottoming. So that's what I would, if I was going to be in this and I'm starting to consider it, I'd like to see this start to find a bottom. So sideways is what I prefer to see.
And this is one of the things that we have talked about, right? We had talked about how this thing is really still hunting for a bottom. The next step for us is to confirm that bottom. The price target that we gave as recently as yesterday was 300 to 325. That actually looks to be pretty awesome. I think the low was 309. Yeah, 309, not far away. And we are curling up here today. One of the other things I think you can watch is just going to be some of the levels here from yesterday: 331, 335, 345. So if you need that, or if you need some immediate levels, I'd be taking a look at those.
SCPN just had a little bit of a nasty pull through VWAP, but it's still getting support from the bottom of that trend line, that the triangle that we drew. So just to keep an eye on it. I'm not taking a position in the pre-market yet. I'd like to wait for the open.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stocks that folks wanted to. I know we're running out of time here, only 8 minutes to go. We're going to start here with JD. Tanya wanted to take a look at some of the China stocks. Okay. Does look like these have been coming back. I think one of the catalysts for one of the Tanya, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just speculating here, but I think one of the things you're thinking about here is, well, with some of the trade tensions kind of being backed off a little bit, maybe there's some opportunity in some of the China stocks. Did I get that right? You'll have to let me know. Starting with JD here, this looks like a pretty awesome move off of that 500, and it is no stranger to doing that. The last several times we came into this 500-day moving average, it did indeed mark that near-term bottom. Good news here is that we've actually recaptured some of these. Going back to Shayla Vega's question about recapturing the 200-day, look what happened here. We kind of butted up against it yesterday and then closed there. Day before yesterday. And then yesterday, let me see where and then yesterday, I'm sorry, the candles are freaking me out, man. And then yesterday we pushed off of that level right to the 50 and stopped there. We've come back in a little bit here. So as far as the actual trading plan here, I'd be looking at maybe let's hold above the 200-day. There's your stop level or thereabouts. And we got a target here of about $38. We'll see if we can get up there on JD. We break above that. Looks like it's a little bit gappy here up to about 41. So you might have some opportunity here in JD. Do you have anything on this chart you want me to cover?
Well, I'm just looking at this and thinking that we do need to get above the 50-day SMA as well. Since we lost that, I mean, we haven't really been getting too many tests of it since we lost it. Actually, this is the first test, was yesterday. So I'd like to see that recaptured because this was support and resistance previously, from late last year as well. I think I'd like to see above 200 is great. I still think I'd like to see this above 50 as well, the 50-day SMA as well. $40 also looks like a resistance area to me.
Good news here is you had the earnings yesterday morning, so that binary event is out of the way. That was a beat on the top and the bottom line. And then this morning, it looks like we actually got some re-ratings here. Price target lowered to 44 from 48. Price target lowered from 48, from 4. That was Bank of America on that first one. I'm sorry. Price target lowered from 50 to 48. That's Mizuho. And price target lowered from 58 to 53. That was at Benchmark. So stock had put in a good earnings print. Looks like we're getting some price target adjustments, but no rating adjustments here on JD. I like the chart breakdown that we just did on this one. Okay. Next I had here was PDD. I think we're going to get through all these China stocks here. PDD actually looking a little bit better. So a couple of things that we see here on the PDD chart. First of all, this area down here, well, what is this? 98-ish. This clearly a bottom. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extend this trend line out because now we've got a pretty awesome triangle being formed here. We've recently had a move above the 50 and the 200 day. So we really want to hold above this. I would say as long as this stays above 114.5, let's call it 115, you can probably remain bullish on this. My target I guess there could be a target in here, 130 to 133, somewhere thereabouts, but I'd actually be looking at the top end of this trend line here, 139, your target on that.
I think you're probably going to be glad if it gets to 130. This is starting to get pretty extended here. RSI is at 68. Getting to 130 is definitely going to take us over 70. At least that's what I think. Getting up to that trend line will make us even more overbought. So if it does get to that trend line, I think that's that big one that you have there. I think that's going to be a fantastic area to go short. We'll see if that's what we end up getting. But to your point, this has had a nice recapture of all those daily SMAs. Got it. We're looking at the third day above the 200. So we close above this. That could add fuel to the bull theory here. Okay. But I do think that we're running out of room as to how high this goes before we get too overbought.
Yeah, 128, 129 actually has a pretty significant volume shelf there as well. Okay, I'm actually going to skip over 10 cent right now. We can come back to that. Let's take a quick look at KIDZ, KIDZ. There were a number of folks wanting to take a look at this one here, although I can't imagine why. I don't really think anything's going on here, guys. Are you guys are we asking about this because we're bag holding? Like, be honest. Is that what's going on here?
We did trade this one while you were gone.
Yep.
So
May 2nd, it was the day before. It had a huge move Friday, May 2nd. But dude, it's done nothing but bleed since then. Honorable mention to Thursday, May 8th, where it traded up a little bit here. This to me looks like this is on its way back to $1.15.
Yeah, I mean, right here where it's at is where there's some support. So if it loses that, then I think you're right that there's not going to be. It looks like $2 might also have some support on the way down if this area doesn't hold. But when I'm looking at the 320 area, if you just draw a line and look to the left, you'll see that this is, especially on like a smaller time frame, this is kind of an important spot. Also,
we're kind of bottomed here.
Look even further to the left.
You're not talking about right in here, back from.
No, look even further to the left.
Here you go. Okay, good stuff. April 7th.
Yeah, so that's.
So I don't think there's. Yeah, I mean we're at a level here. This sounds like a bag hold. Yeah, it says okay. Yep, held the bag. Okay, so that's why we asked about it. I don't think there's anything going on here, man. Good luck. Good luck there, KIDZ. This is definitely one of the junkier names that we've ever taken a look at here. Okay, next here, we're going to do hymns.
Okay.
This is one that we talk about all of the time. This thing has just been an absolute monster. So this Head and Shoulders, what do you think? Can we invalidate this?
I thought we were invalidating that already.
I'm saying that jokingly. We already did, but very, very clear. Does look like if this, this is completely overcooked. RSI high, Williams percent R high. We've made a ridiculous move. Speaking of the 200-day again, April 25th, we were down here at about $26. The stock is $64. Good Lord. Maybe it trades up to 70. I'd actually be looking for a regression back to the mean here on HIMS, to be quite honest with you. I don't have a position on this, but I'd be looking for one. 70, I think at 70, I'd probably try it. Maybe it goes to 73 and tries to set a new all-time high, but good Lord, I think the next move here of any significance is probably a mean reversion. What do you think?
Well, I think this is a great case about why you don't want to, even though it's above all the EMAs, you don't want to be buying something like this up here. It's up 20% away from the nearest EMA I have, which is the 9 EMA on the daily. That's very extended away. So the point I was making earlier about when prices get too extended away from VWAP and moving averages, that's a signal for you to maybe wait for it to come back in or go short, because it's going to come back in. It's just not going to continue to extend forever.
Okay. Let's go. That's your bell. We're open. Right. Let's go over here to the main workspace. We're open and we're going to wait for some of these to settle. Alex, you were asking, can you see HCWB has a good news backing it up? Didn't this have an offering?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, this did. Reported earlier. This was on Tuesday after hours here. This is an offering of 671,000 units at $7.45 per share. It's $3 under where it's at right now. No, I don't see any good news backing this up. We did have the earnings right before that, right? Excuse me. No, that was that was just the offering. And then the news before it was studies of proprietary compound for availability and commercialization. No, to me, I would stay away from this one, Alex, at least for today. SMCI calls ripping.
Yeah, SCPM dropped out of the triangle, and then it popped back in it, trying to recapture VWAP right now. Looking like it's going to hit the top of the triangle. Things quite movie this morning. Lucy also kind of had a drop out of the gate here, but it's trying to recapture its 65 EMA, still beneath its VWAP. I don't know about Lucy. If it recaptures its VWAP, I might have more confidence in it, but this pattern that it's been putting in since the earnings, not too confident to have.
Here we go. Let's see if this can take out its VWAP at 313. That'd be step number one. Sorry for interrupting here. ICCT starting to gear. We got asked about this one earlier here. It's having a fairly decent pre-market. This is trying to break out of the consolidation area from yesterday. Top end of that zone. Tree. We'll see if we're able to get above that. I would say $4 is your next target if this can get rolling. We've seen ICCT be wild. Looks like it's going here again today.
That's a break over a trend line that you can draw from the start of pre-market. The price came back beneath it, but there is a large concentration of sellers at 326. If it takes that out, this might go on a little bit more of a run, maybe even to the $4.
Okay.
Let's see what it do.
Here's NVIDIA. This had a pretty decent pre-market. NVIDIA has made a huge move recently on some of the back of the chip news here. NVIDIA actually looks like this is turning up. Seeing some Tesla call flow here being bought into this pull out of the open. Ticker TSLA. Market, by the way, still holding here. S&P futures up 0.25% here today. So we're ticking up post the open, but we really haven't made any significant move higher. Devs, this is one that got mentioned yesterday on the happy hour. This is DevStream. Forgot what the news on this was, though. DevStream and an investment holding sign MOU to explore the creation of Fayafi and DevStream Green Ventures.
Green Ventures.
Yeah, we looked at this yesterday. I remember not being terribly impressed with this.
No.
I would say if this ends up moving, if Devs ends up being a trader here today, it's a penny stock, so I'm going to stay away from this anyway. But if this ends up being a mover here today, I would just use technicals on this. I wouldn't get married to this story.
Yeah, just waiting to see what Lucy does here. QNRX trying to recapture its VWAP. SEPN, that's falling out of that triangle again. Might need more time on that one. Looks like Lunar is having a good morning. That's going right back up to where the highs of yesterday were. And looks like ICCT is coming back in a bit.
UBAI, this was another mover here in the pre-market. This actually setting a new high as it continues to trade higher. Interesting. UNH, for those UNH players, I did see some calls getting bought here, but I don't know if this is done yet. Just moving down from some of those pre-market gains. Oklo, this reported earnings last night. It's trading higher here today. OKLO, this has been a huge momentum mover for us. How did those earnings do? Not great.
Getting a mention with from Rick AMD. Excuse me. This is having a nice gap up this morning. Also look like we're about to have a silver cross. Very extended on the daily RSI, 75 RSI. So I think that this, I mean, we're getting pretty close to the 200-day SMA and also a $128 level that I have as resistance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up popping up to those that area where the 200-day SMA is and then came right back in, maybe down to 115. Because it's going to be very extended. It's already really extended right now, but getting up to that level, very extended. So nice to see this move here, but I think that it's going to cool off bumpy following today.
127, 134 looks to be the near-term high there. The news this morning was that the board approved the $6 billion share buyback plan.
Fantastic.
So there you go on AMD. Also, keep in mind, we did have an inverse head and shoulders on this chart. It actually ended up going lower and kind of invalidating that. Perhaps now we've ended up putting that bottom in here. This $80 bottom, this actually lines up pretty well if you look to the left, going all the way back to 2020. All right, let me go back. It looks like a lot of stocks are moving here. Sorry if we're not staying on top of all of them as quickly as you would like. Chris mentioning Rigetti is moving. I don't know if any of you have been following the Martin Shkreli stuff with these quantum names. He is really going after them. Experts were polled in the industry, and the expert poll reveals that we are at least 20 to 30 years away. So some of those comments about being only 5 years away seem to be hogwash, at least according to the experts.
Yeah, I bet those same experts were saying that we were 10 to 20 years away with AI as well, and now it's here. I'll take the other side of it.
Okay, that's what makes a market. I'll take that all day.
Looks like space stocks are having a good morning. And
actually looks like S&P is having a nice move higher here, plus 0.33%, Dow plus 2.2%, NASDAQ leading the way higher here, over 0.5%. A nice little move higher here.
ASTS up over 6%. Cooler, KULR, up almost 12% now. We have Redwire up 4%, Rocket Lab up 5%. Barely any names that are not doing well this morning on the space theme.
More Tesla call flows. That pull right out of the open, just that went higher there. JJ, great to see you again. Missed it. 5 years from what? Quantum computing companies having any significance or relevance. Let me see if I can actually pull the study itself. That way we don't have to go off of what I'm saying. This was just from yesterday. I had a note here, but we didn't cover it yesterday. So I'll see if I can find it here today.
I don't see any news this morning for FNGR. We're getting asked about what this is. This is finger motion. Don't see any news happening today. It looks like it's having a hard time getting and holding over 520, and it's resulted in the price moving down. Looks to me like it's been on a nice run. I don't know what on. We just had a golden cross, but it is very extended. 86 RSI on the daily chart. So this sell-off not unusual. Don't know exactly where it's going to find support at, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say at about 4 even, maybe just under 4. That'd be my guess.
All right. I went and JJ, I went ahead and threw the article in there for you on quantum. Real quick, this was the chart shared by Sclarelli, 2024 experts estimate of a likelihood of a quantum computer able to break the RSA 2048 in 24 hours. This gives you an idea of where most of those people sit. Tom here saying, I take the same stance as 13 on the quantum. Before you know it, it will be on top of us. Now, that's actually so. To being to the point about being, I almost wanted to call it 13's point of being early, but I don't even know if you're trying to make that point, to be perfectly fair to you. To the point of being early, we've seen some of these, like you actually had to be in some of these names when they really make the big jump. Are you saying that you think that that's coming here pretty soon? If so, that this makes a lot of sense. If you can just kind of sit on this for a while, you don't mind investing in that. That's another choice for you to make. Anyway. That was going on yesterday. I have no position here, so I'm not really putting my money where my mouth is in either part of that.
Well, all right. Meanwhile, we have SEPN, the one that was looking good this morning, not looking good right now, going right down to the 65 EMA. This thing is just having an ugly, ugly knife. So this is one of the reasons why I like to wait. QNRX, this thing has gone sideways since the open, printing in a pretty wide range of price action here, almost coming down to the 65 EMA. Lucy also sold out of the open there, but that hasn't really sold off too much. Trying to get a little bit of a turnaround story going with this one. Might end up hitting the 200 EMA first before that happens. ICCT breaking out though.
Jane, is the Martin guy the one that went to prison? Shkreli, Pharma Bro. Yes, that is the same one. To be fair, he tweeted someone else's research, so I'm not going to attribute that to him. But yes, to your point, that is the same person.
Waiting to see if ICCT can break out of 326.
I'm with you on that.
There's that concentration of sellers right there, so we need to see a big amount of volume come in here to take that out.
Good morning, Amanda, saying, morning, guys. I'm sitting out today. Everything I like to play is 70 RSI or higher, and I'm not shorting this market.
Yeah, well,
can't argue with you.
It's hard to, because there's so many short squeeze potentials at the same time. So maybe, Amanda, if you're going to just sit on the sidelines and you feel like you want to do something besides just watch Ryan and I entertain y'all, maybe look at some of the real beaten up names that have a high short interest. Like we were looking at a couple of them yesterday, like Play and Cake. I don't really like restaurants in particular for stocks, but they have some really interesting short interest and some patterns that could mix for some good trades. So just a couple of ideas if you're looking for something to do. Otherwise, enjoy the show.
Yeah. Never mind. All right, what else we got here? UNH actually on the relative volume scanner. Hey, UNH trying to hold 320.
Yeah.
Is anyone trading this here today? It's the first time I've noticed. Oh, and actually Hood.
ICCT getting hit at 326.
And 330 and through.
Yep. Nice stuff. And there it goes. Now the next wall is at 350.
Yep. And then 4.
Fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. GCT, pretty cheap name, 2-day earnings, or day 2 earnings. It says Jay Rice. And now look at that one? Poll. That was GCT. Yep.
GigaCloud.
And now look at that poll in ICCT. So that was a nice move up to that resistance, and everybody stepped in and said, I guess we're going to get out of this.
I got VWAP at 302, by the way, on ICCT, pulled back right down towards there. Jay, real quick, pretty cheap name, day 2 of earnings. You think that this has a chance of taking out some of those earnings highs, maybe testing 20? GCT? Let me know what you think on that one. Curious.
Take a look at the broader market, see how we're doing today.
Still holding in here. S&P futures still up by 0.25%.
We didn't really get a good opportunity for the SQQQ trade until toward the end of the day. So that was a little bit unfortunate. Now I'm looking at the SPY this morning, and I'm seeing that we have created a bit of a triple top here in the pre-market going into the regular session. We might end up selling today if this pattern resolves. That's something I'd be watching for.
Here you go. This, I think, is what you're talking about right here.
Yeah. Now, alternatively, this could be viewed as maybe a megaphone pattern. Because it's a broadening wedge following a rise off the bottom down at 586. So let's just see if it can hold above what is this 587.50. It looks like a triple top, but there's also potential it could be a megaphone because it's the highs making being a little bit higher each time. So and the price was broadening.
Good morning, Jay. Great to see you. Market Sniper, just hit that refresh button. You should be all set. Actually, producer, didn't you find a way to make the delay better? Is there anything you can do to help Market Sniper? Jay, answering my direct question, I do. I think they're estimated to do $3 a share, Ryan, and it's got decent short interest. Okay, so for GCT, let's take a look at that short interest here. 19.68% of the float shortage with 9 days to cover. Jay, I would completely agree with you there. So you think this can pretty much go to 20? We're at pretty good formation here. Let's see, 20, maybe 22, 20, 22, and 25 would be some of the levels there.
All right, just kind of waiting to see what this market's going to do because if this is a triple top that we're seeing here on a smaller time frame, I think that we're going to definitely see 586 again.
Okay,
that's what I think could happen.
Okay, and it does look like it's pulling here. By the way, Tanya, you were asking about some of the China stocks. It is worth noting those all might move in unison tomorrow. BABA reports tomorrow morning. Let me get the graphic back up here just to make sure I didn't. Yeah, tomorrow morning, Alibaba. Actually, tomorrow morning is the big earnings bucket, if you will. Mizuho, Walmart, John Deere, BABA, all reporting tomorrow morning. Tonight, we've got Boot Barn, Cisco. Probably your big ones there.
ICCT coming back up through VWAP. Be very careful with this one. It's all over the place this morning. It's been giving some really good trades, but man, when it gets to a certain price and pulls, you got to be ready for that. Looks like SCPN's trying to find its way back up to VWAP.
Digital Ally. Who remembers this from back in the day? This stock is 4 cents. 4 cents.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2014, that was a big thing.
I didn't remember it from back then. I remembered it from the pandemic.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's been kind of like a trader stock for forever. Now it's just 4 cents. Now it's just dwindling.
Gosh,
Tesla's still pulling back here. Chris, nice little quick short there on NBIS. Was there any thesis here other than just kind of that opening pop? It's actually been a pretty decent one. NBIS back in a mid-30 handle. Boy, that was a good ad in the low 20s. Oklo looks like it might be trying to go for 40, folks. OKLO.
The pull on that one's going to be pretty hefty.
Yeah, it is. Devs, this is that penny stock that got mentioned. 80 is one of the spots there. We'll see if we can get above that. 80 and 86 looks to be some spots there.
All right, lots of stuff coming in now. QNRX went lower. SCPN still hasn't broken down, and it did bounce off at 65 EMA, but it's still beneath its VWAP. ICCT, that's still trying to close above its VWAP. Lucy looks like that's headed down for the pre-market lows, which should be 268. Lots of stuff coming in now. Look at the SPY chart now. I guess we're good. It is a triple top. We're going right down towards.
Here is your SPY chart.
Yep, headed towards that 586 level. Let's test it.
Here we go. 586. Yeah, no, you're spot on with that. We'll see if we end up breaking that here.
Mm-hmm. Here's Lucy starting to come down to that 268 level and the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. If we don't get support down there, then this thing's probably done for a while, maybe the whole day. Just a lot of things selling off this morning. Everything that was running up as well, that's all selling off too.
And didn't we kind of talk about that? Didn't we kind of talk about this maybe slowing down a little bit? Maybe not right away, but a day after. Looks like we're getting that exact time frame here. NVIDIA calls, by the way, getting bought into this move down.
So the SPY low that we just printed was 586.46. So we're 46 cents away from that level I was looking for. SQQQ's not doing too bad right now, even though it did not have the setup we were looking for. We did not get that VWAP extension, but we did have that pattern in the market. It was in the SPY, but I'm sure the Qs also have the same pattern. A little bit wankier, but it's still 3 candles down. I know we're getting some support from 515 area, so we might get a little bit of a pullback here.
Anne Marie saying we desperately need a consolidation day. Indeed. Indeed. We moved pretty far, pretty quickly. Actually, Jay, you were saying that we were overbought. I know Lion is selling into the strength.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we're starting to get a little bit of a bounce here, but I don't think that it's going to be a reversal.
NVIDIA holding in here.
ICCT looking pretty good. Now above VWAP. 326, still that area that's giving it trouble.
Parker, Thinkorswim indicator, NU, didn't this report earnings yesterday? Yeah, NU shares are trading higher after the company reported worse than expected Q1 financial results. First move here was down. We've actually gone red-green here, ticker NU. What happened in this report? Missed the EPS by a penny. Missed sales by not a whole lot. Went red-green here today. Price target raised to 15 from 14 at Susquehanna. That helping it drive higher here today. NU, wow, big move.
Yeah. Was it already up almost $1?
It's just a really, I mean, this thing was down. Let's see, 13. This thing was down $1 in the after hours. Down about 70 cents here in the pre-market. Now just up from that, up a full $1 from that bottom. Yep. Joe saying for amateurs like me, I think it's prudent to wait this out until 11 unless there's a cratering. Look, if you don't feel like you have an edge, you definitely should wait it out, should not force trades, and instead just kind of wait for a setup. If you don't get it, that's okay. Tomorrow's another day.
So market trying to bounce here. I think the most it's going to give us is probably somewhere around 587.50. Maybe slightly higher than that before we. I think it'll turn down and trade lower. Need to see what the next few candles do. But following when it comes to the resolution of these triple tops, you'll see this initial move down, a bit of a bounce to try and recapture some levels. But usually they fail. So that's what I'm waiting for, is that they're to start kicking in. Just not a whole lot from the movers this morning, except down.
No, movers were kind of bunked today, honestly.
But we were talking about how when we see a number of these 100% movers for multiple days, it tends to signal a top.
Market top.
Yep.
And as Anne-Marie was just saying, we really could use a consolidation day. I mean, I'll be honest, if we just pull back a little bit and don't really break down and hold, I would actually view that as a positive. Chewy here, this actually looks like this is trying to go higher, retesting 40 here. I think I got asked yesterday if I was still in this. Yes, I am. Still waiting for Chewy to move higher here. Haven't gone aggressive into this yet. Still at nibble stage here in Chewy, but we've got until June, and we're in it. STFU, I guess, making a good call here. I hear that a lot, mostly from you, but I still hear it a lot. NU is going to dip hard out of the gate and then launch on a supposed miss. Looks like that's pretty much exactly what happened. We dipped after earnings. We dipped a little bit right out of earnings and then ramped. 1250 looks to be the entry spot there. That was a good call, STFU. Didn't take it.
It's been a good week otherwise. How's everybody's week been going so far?
Good.
I've been having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I really have had a pretty good week. I have had a pretty good week. See what happens tomorrow, but I've had a pretty good week. 10-cent music. This is another one Tanya was asking. This is actually higher here, higher than the pre-market. This is trading higher following the financial results. This actually looks pretty good. ICCT might be trying to go higher here.
It's got to get over that.
Sure does. That level is still in play, 13.
Pesky level it is. Gold moving back up. Yeah, gold following that news of the U.S. China tariff deal. That was a great signal for gold to sell off. But now that whole trade has started to cool off, I think you're going to see the rotation back into it.
NBIS, big reversal. Chris, that was a great trade, man. Great trade off that trend line that you had on NBIS for that short.
Hey, Dan, that's great. I'm glad that you're kicking ass. Keep it going, man.
That's absolutely. What's going on, Wisdom? Mike says I'm up 18% on my portfolio this week. Mike, nice job, dude. That's sweet.
That sounds like a good week.
Sounds like a good week to me. Absolutely.
Some people, are happy with that over the course of a quarter or even a year. You did that in a week, sir.
No, Alex, no news here on ICCT. This, to my best guess here, this is just kind of a relative volume play from the day traders yesterday. This had a huge move right out of the open on high volume. Looks like we're trying to do something here today. 350 really stopped ICCT here.
Yep.
Hood was another stock that folks want to take a look at all of the time. I haven't noticed anything crazy here I did see some come across the unusual option wire, but nothing crazy here. This one also, if we think the market's pulling back here, this is also Hood is also extended. Yeah. It is also near a resistance area. So this might be an individual name that you might be able to play a regression back to the mean.
Wisdom was playing, or he was in shiny for the gold play. So were you playing dull when it was going down? Because that's the inverse.
Barat, dude. This year I'm up 387% on my 7-digit account.
Whew. That's crazy.
Barat. Where the calls at?
It's crazy that this is the best year, 2025, since 2018, because last year was a massive year for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was.
So that's awesome that this is already turning out to be a better year than last year.
And we're not even halfway through the year yet.
Mm-hmm. Zachary.
I like to say Zachary, actually. Oklo might have found its intraday high here, backing off a little bit. We'll see what happens if this sets up at the VWAP again.
ICCT.
Got it.
It's trying to take out that 326. Oh, she's trying.
Okay, I'm going to leave this on the screen. Step away for just 1 sec. BRB.
Sounds good. And yeah, people buying gold nonstop. I need to go to Costco to buy more. That was one of the greatest things I thought Costco did. I said they're going to sell every single ounce of gold they have for sale. They did. And a year later, people that ended up buying, gold back then, I think they're up like $1,000 or over $1,000. This is fantastic for everybody. Great for Costco. Great for all those buyers. Everybody won with that. Looking for 35.30 on this NBIS long from 34.71, says CA Forsman. The candle goes down. My mind says no. Gotcha. Okay. Big winners for Bharat are Tesla, Palantir, Hood, and Baba. I play both short and long. Well, those have been moving quite a bit this week. So, yes, you are definitely winning this week. And what else do we have going on here? So now it looks like the SQQQ is starting to put up some topping out candles. Wonder if we might get a turnaround here. We finding some support in the price action of the SPY. Let's take a look. Also, it looks like we're getting some of these movers to move back up. So we are trying to get some turnaround happening here with the SPY, and it looks like the Qs as well. Still think that we'd want to pay attention to that 587.50, or just maybe plus or minus 15 cents around that area as a potential resistance, because I don't think that this is going to provide enough volume to get us back up to the levels we were trading at in the pre-market, those highs. So.
And remember, this, I know it looks like it's bouncing here. Remember, if this chops around or consolidates, that would be a net good thing. Maybe it moves back and forth throughout the course of the day. We'll see.
ICCT still, man, it is still fidgeting with that same area. I would really hope that this breaks through. I'm not in this one right now, but I would just hope that it breaks through, because if it doesn't, I think it's going to start to weaken and maybe come back in. MACD isn't quite showing that yet, but the volume is starting to wane. Yeah, the volume is starting to wane. I need to see more volume.
We are getting some stuff to turn around here. Tesla's turning around. That actually might be a decent trade. Tesla down here.
I think remember, I was just talking about how this might just be a bounce.
Yep.
So it's going to have to recapture some levels. If it gets back over 588, the SPY, I think that
okay,
we are turned around and we're coming back up.
Chris here, shorting Tesla at 340. Sorry, I said that this might be a good buy. Chris goes, I'm going to short it. We'll see who's right.
Yes, we will. All right, so yeah, ICCT still having trouble with that area, man. All right, well, at least it's holding above VWAP. Market's starting to pull now, so this was just that back test. Let's see how much follow through we get with this. If we are going to see this come down more, we got to break those lows we were just making down around 586.50.
Alex saying I lost almost 1/3 of my money this month. Alex, when that happens, bro, slow down. Slow down, because if you start thinking like, oh my God, I've got to get this back, now you're layering emotions onto your trading, and you're just making it harder on yourself. Slow down, take a deep breath, assess why that happened, and then make tactical changes.
STFU, regarding NU, this, I don't think that really looks like a flag quite yet. I think you need a little bit more time. Also, I'm looking at a 5-minute chart. That was just before we had that pull there. It was over 70 RSI, so it was still pretty extended. I'd like to see this come down maybe closer to 13, 15 before it tries to attempt to turn around. Just really extended here. Looks like it could still potentially go higher, but let's see this thing cool off first.
We've all been there too. That's the other thing, Alex. We've all been there. We've all been through stretches where it's like, oh my God, I can't make this work. Mm-hmm. And the only way you can get through that is just by slowing things down, assessing what's going on, and then making some changes. Trying to do the same thing over and over again that puts you into that position, not going to help. I know from experience.
ICCT, the unfortunate thing, I was hoping it wouldn't.
Pulled?
It pulled. Yep. Couldn't get over that whole area. It was like 326 to 330, somewhere right in there. This constantly was getting rejected. This thing really pulling now. So I tried to make that case to be cautious about this if it couldn't do that, and the volume was starting to leave. Now we're getting a curl to the downside in the MACD. Next area of support is going to be right about here, maybe just under it, like about 295. And then after that, I'd say 270.
Rigetti here, that big pop up to 1120. This has come all the way back down to the 15 EMA there on the 5, holding at 1050 so far. see what else we're getting here. Looks like some of these stocks that we're selling is bouncing. Tesla continuing to move higher here, so that bounce is actually looking pretty good. We're 2 points plus from entry there. Netflix has remained strong here today. Had no trade plan on Netflix though.
SEPN, this move from this morning, it's not looking great at all. It looks to me still like it has more room to go down, which is unfortunate because it was setting up earlier in this pre-market to go higher quite nicely, but sellers stepping in, taking this lower.
Here, another really good piece of advice here. I know we don't legally give advice. We can't tell you what to do, but what we can do is we can share things that we've learned from experience. And I promise you that's valuable. It doesn't always work the same way for everybody, but I've learned pretty much everything I have from people that are more experienced from me. Oh, and by the way, I should have a very special unadvertised guest that even the producer doesn't know about, or 13, coming up here pretty soon. Speaking of more experience, so I'll just tease that a little bit. Pete here, though, a really good comment. Don't sweat it, Alex. Well, I was down 30% for the year after the April fiasco. Pete, I appreciate you cleaning that up a little bit there. Now down 1% for the year. Huge bounce back there. Just a patient, slow slog. Gamble less, take smaller positions if that's what it takes. I would give this a super like if I could, honestly. Gambling less is a really good idea. Don't be lured in by lotto plays. Don't be lured. Some of the times we talk about like cheap option plays here that we're okay with them expiring worthless, but they might go several 100%. That's not the way to go. Take all of those out of your trade plan. Take smaller positions, quality companies, things that you understand. Give it some more time. Remember, your number one goal in this should never be making piles and piles of money. It should always be protecting capital. If you are successful in your main goal of protecting capital, then you can move on to making more money on this. I think Pete's exactly right here. And one of the things that we were preaching during that April fiasco, to borrow Pete's language here, was to be calm. And to not, can you imagine, Pete, what would you have done if you had just taken losses on all of that stuff on the day and not kind of waited for this to come back, not had a plan to be patient and earn it your way back? I feel like it would have been a lot harder on your mental state. Okay. Good stuff there from the group. Really appreciate that. I know sometimes we talk a lot about stocks and what's going on here, but the thing behind the thing, the mental state behind, really, really important. And sometimes that gets lost, especially in what we're doing here on a daily basis. Really good stuff from the group. Okay, IXHL. This was one of those movers. It was the penny stock mover. It's going ham right now. I don't even feel like I'm missing this one. Grats to anyone that has this. This is traded 52,000%. Its average volume. There you go. Crazy. Oh, and let's take a look. Here's AMD. Looks like AMD came in a little bit, still up 6% here, so still actually having a good day. Did not double, wink, but AMD still having a good day. You know, part of this was the thought that, I know we talked a little bit about the repurchase program, but they're based on the meeting yesterday with Trump in Saudi Arabia, there should be more opportunities for some of these chip companies. That's also why you were seeing NVIDIA trade higher. NVIDIA, clearly the leader there.
Yeah. So, and you know that lifts its share repurchase program to 10 billion now.
Okay, there we go.
Because it was already 4 billion existing. So that 6.
So the new 6 adds to it. Okay, heads up. Heads up there, 13. Mama Bear says, I got IXHL, making some money here today. Awesome.
All right.
Here's the other thing. So James saying, no lie, I was hurting. I'm finally back in the green by 2K for the year. So really, really quickly, I am actually still in the red on the year. I am in the red right now by 4,000. It was way worse. It was way worse earlier. So some of these things that the group is talking about here, understand you're not alone. You are not alone. The one downside to YouTube shows, FinTwit, really anyone on the internet talking about finance It's very, a lot of people love to just talk about winners and not talking about what happens when it's losing or not showing lose. That's why I'm spending so much time on this. I think this stuff is important. I think this is what makes real traders, not people that post pictures of Lamborghinis and all of that stuff. This is part of it. This job is hard. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The job's hard. It is extremely rewarding, but it's hard. Don't think you're just going to go from middle class to billionaire in a short period of time. There's a lot that goes on in this. So, James, I appreciate you sharing this. Pete, I appreciate you sharing. Anyone else, you're not obligated to do that, but if that helps the group, I really appreciate you.
Good stuff, everybody.
Yeah. SMCI backed off that initial pop there. ICCT looks like it's holding. What did you say? 275 for this? I can't remember what your level was.
Let me look here. The 65 EMA is at 263. I was kind of looking down around this area. I don't know if this is the end of the selling, but and
remember, this is a second day off of the news from yesterday, so this could very easily dry up quickly.
Yeah,
more so than it did yesterday. So
yeah, that move that we got this morning that took us up to 348. That might have been it. So watch that volume. If you start to see it expand in ICCT, it'll tell you that it's not quite done yet.
Oh my gosh, Chris, I haven't really been paying attention, but I hope you're doing all right. Tesla here continuing to move higher off that 340 entry, 343 now. You got it, Alex. It sounds cheesy, but honestly, I really want this to be a different, I want this to be different from your run-of-the-mill Discord room, where everyone's doing all that. It's hard. It's hard. We're happy to provide encouragement. Gary says, I've been married 49 years and it's a challenge, but trading for a living is more difficult. You take that any way that you want. Gary, it's so good to have you here.
That's how you know he's in a good marriage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Barat saying, so true, Ryan. I struggled a lot in 2024 and gave back most of the gains by the end of 2024 for that year. I took my time, went through all of the bad trades for 2024, which helped me big time in 2025. Dude, that might be the comment of the day right there. Remember, in trading, it's not going to really be someone else's fault. The caveat there is that if you give your money to a financial advisor, he turns out to be a fraud and runs away with the money. Okay. But as far as that, like trading, like this is all on you, right? So if you go through a bad period, no matter how long it is, no matter how short or how long, being able to take a step back and assess that can better prepare you for the future. This is exactly what Barat is saying here.
Mike is saying that Boeing, holy moly, Boeing.
Okay, let's go to Boeing. I love this. So I think what he's talking about is this spike on volume. Yeah. Was there a newsprint here that I missed because I was talking? Sorry about that if that's the case.
Okay, so when Trump was talking earlier, he mentioned that the Boeing agreement with I don't know who with who. I imagine it's with Saudi Arabia, but it's for over $200 billion. Or maybe that's, I'm not sure who he's referring to with the agreement.
Qatar Airways is expected to order 150 Boeing jets.
There it is.
There is your pop. And you know what else? The cool thing about this is that we've actually kind of been, I actually personally didn't do a great job on this trade. I did make money the last time that we traded this. That was going to be this run right in here back in March. I was hoping we'd get to the 500 and then perhaps 200. We didn't do that. I ended up stopping out of this position with a small gain. It was nothing to get excited about. We totally retraced that move. We found support at the trend line that goes all the way back to the COVID low 13. I think you were the one that had me add this trend line, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we went all the way back to that trend line, and then we really started the move. This is the move that I was hoping we were going to get the first time. Huge move here. Now we've taken out 200. Much like what we've discussed with the market kind of needing some consolidation, if Boeing can stay above 200 and maybe consolidate a little bit here, reset some of this RSI, this actually might set up for another swing trade. Let's let this kind of breathe for a little bit. This is a good move, though.
I like the 200 level. I also like the 197. I think that was the big breakout level that took us up to where we're at now. Draw a line at 197, look to the left. That's been a support return resistance level since the price has been up here, especially following the start of the Ukraine Russia war. But this is starting to look like we're going to see this turn back up and start to head towards that top end of the broadening wedge that I've had on this chart for over 2 years now.
Crim Biscuit, you have yourself a good day. And oh my God, he's back. Jay Diamond is back. Let's go. I have been looking for you. Oh, Bitcoin must be down today, is it? Bitcoin is down 1.2% today. So we see Jay Diamond here on the days that Bitcoin is down. It's all in good fun, man. I'm just kind of busting on you here. Jay Diamond saying they will be giving away jets as stocking stuffers this Christmas. That should be a net positive for Boeing, though. If another country is buying planes and then giving them away, Boeing is still profiting from that. Jay Diamond, what do we do with MicroStrategy here? What do we do with MicroStrategy here? This looks like this is trying to maybe trade higher here and break out. You think this reverses here? What about Bitcoin? Back above 100K, holding there pretty good. Let me know your thoughts on that. And I mean seriously, I'm expecting bearish thoughts, but I'm serious about that ask. Let me know what you think about that. Jay here is another good point. PEs don't matter if you have a monopoly. Boeing does a good job showing that. All right, let's take a look at UNH. I know that was a popular one here today. Okay, so what do we think? Now, I know it's a little bit early here today. Do we think the bottom is in?
PEs don't matter when doors fly off either. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing, Jay.
13.
Yeah, because that thing was getting hammered on all the bad news it had. So this is a good turnaround. And I think, you know what? I think the best CEO of Boeing might be Trump. Because I don't think the current CEO has done nearly anywhere as close as the amount of service that Trump's been doing for the company.
Yeah, I know that there's no way to trade this, so I'm sorry for even going down this road. I found out yesterday that Pete Rose and I guess all of the people from the White Sox back when the Black Sox scandal went on were all removed from the lifetime ban list. Commissioner of Baseball said these people are not alive anymore and can't negatively impact the game of baseball anymore because of that, and have now been removed from the all-time ban list. Tim Kirkjian reported last night that Trump had a huge role in doing this, which is just incredible. The amount of things that this guy is touching is insane. I don't know what people feel about Pete Rose, but I think it's a travesty that he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame despite the gambling stuff that he did.
Yeah, that's exactly, Jay. They get that cleaned up and they're back in business. It looks like they're already starting to get back in business.
Look at this. Apparently folks are breaking news in here and it's benefiting the other members. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Joe says Joseph says that was a dumb decision. It's the principle that matters. So it's interesting. There's a lot of back and forth on this. Joe, you are not alone in that opinion. In fact, you share the opinion of a lot of former players. Tim Kirkjian told a story about that too. I'm not going to say anyone's right or wrong on that. This has been a long-standing debated thing. I'm just impressed that there's some movement being made on this.
I know that it's exciting how well Boeing's doing, but I just got to mention that the RSI on the daily is very, very high. I do expect this to come back in, not crater and go back down to where, the lows were or anything like that, but it's very extended. Would like to see it come down to about, 197, 200. that'd be okay. Or even go sideways. You can cool off going sideways as well. But it is very extended up here. I don't think I'd be a buyer right now.
Where was that comment there? Good Lord, I just lost it. It's my own fault. Really quick, folks. Here we go. This smudge is pony at the bottom. So it's at a support level, but I would not call this a bottom. Here's your 15-minute chart. Look at the move that this stock made. By the way, shout out to Smoke Tuna from our group, who had an extremely early call on pony. And that thing has still continued to work here. It is at a support level. I would not call it a bottom.
Yeah,
maybe it's a bottom for the day. Sorry, 13. Maybe it's bottom for the day. I don't have enough information for that at a support level, though. Sorry, 13.
The bottom was on April 22nd. We're just, because we've had a map since that day, literally since that day, we've had like, what is this, a 400% run? It might need to cool off a little bit.
And I think that would probably be healthy, even for more of a move higher.
No, Pete, go ahead and trade that however you want. I'm just trying to point out that this thing is that Boeing was very extended. I don't want to see anybody get hurt in any of these things.
But to your point about that, 13, really your trade plan is going to determine that, right? Like it looks like Pete has a very clear idea of what he's trying to do. So I'm not really worried about that. Again, I think one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, 13, one of the things that we're trying to do here is everyone might have a different view on a stock, different time frame on a stock. If we say something is good, for intraday, and someone takes that as it's good for a week, and then all of a sudden is getting pounded on it tomorrow, we're trying to be as clear as possible.
Day trades, swing trades, long terms. We typically will say what we're referring to here. And for the purpose of a day trade, especially even for a swing trade, I mean it looks like it needs to cool off because the daily RSI is very extended. I'm talking about Boeing. Pony, on the other hand.
Breaking news. Sorry. Breaking news right here. China suspends, scraps unreliable list of policies on some U.S. companies. China suspends export controls over 28 U.S. entities.
Yeah, because they were all BS.
Yeah,
they're all just reactionary because they weren't getting their way. So that's probably part of the deal. That they, that Trump and China struck together.
Love this here. RL said the best advice I've got from this group was to be patient and not panic sell. Oh man, that hits right in the feels, RL. That is awesome. I have been holding TSM for the longest time, and finally I could sell it this week, and my portfolio was up 16%. I bet you feel like you have a piano taken off of your back. This is, if there's nothing else, this is probably the thing that I want people to take away from this show. Panicking and panic selling and not being patient are the biggest things that are going to hurt you. I can't give you advice. I'm not a 40 or 50-year market veteran like Tim Melvin, but what I can tell you over my experience here, there's never been a time, I can go back, there's never been a time where I panicked and several days or months later, that ended up being the right move. It's always the wrong move. And I've learned that now. I've learned that even when things look real rough, as long as you're not panicking, you're probably going to have some means of getting out. Even on some of the losing trades that I've gotten out of, I didn't panic. It reached a level I couldn't take anymore. I got out. I redeployed the capital elsewhere. I was able to make it work for me. That's a great comment, RL. And I'm glad to hear that. You must be patient, says Mama Bear. Mama Bear, you would probably know better than most about being patient, being a Mama Bear.
So waiting to see if we are going to get some lower prints here in the broader market. It's been trying to hold up all morning, ever since we got down here 15 minutes into the open, providing a whole series of wicks on the bottom here, these lower shadows. But man, the volume is not there to take this thing back up, at least yet. I think the market still has lower to go.
Okay. Check your emotions at the door, Cal. Love that, Tom. This whole group is a class act. Tom, we appreciate you. You're a class act. You belong. Also, one more thing here. Let me see if I could find that. I know the comments are still moving amazing. Chop, that is a good question. Let me get to that here in a sec. I wanted to see, where was this? How did I lose this? Ed, here we go. Eric, sorry. Thoughts on SEPN, done or more to come? So the catalyst today actually seemed decent. Here's what I would say about this. Sometimes when we see these large moves, remember this was actually a substantial move from this, $7 level. We were up 83%. So the fact that this is pulled back here, not the end of the world. We're still up 46.8%. Still a pretty good day for the stock. It's doing a really good job holding this level. Let's call it 970. If you want to call it 950, that's fine too. I've got the 200 65 EMA, right here just under the price. One of the things that we've seen on some of these that make big moves in the pre-market, you get that regression back to the mean a little bit right around the open, then it kind of flatlines, and then something happens in the afternoon and this stock moves. So to answer your question here is this done? I don't know yet. The fact that it's not breaking down would at least make me keep this on the back burner, right? Like, let's check in on this around lunch. Let's maybe put an alert on whatever platform you have, whether it's Benzinga Pro or your broker, that, hey, if this trades up above 10.15, alert me. Let me know, because we might actually cross that VWAP. Then we might start taking out some of those pre-market levels or testing some of those pre-market levels. It's moved down, but it's held here. So until that changes, not too sure. Oh, okay. Did you have any? I feel like I've been talking too much today, to be honest.
On SEPN?
On anything.
Well, on SEPN, it's kind of at a spot where I'm not sure if it's going to break down or try to turn back up, because the MACD is starting to get to the point where it's not in the decline anymore. It's kind of going sideways. I'm waiting for a curl. At the same time, the 5-minute chart for SEPN looks like it's on the verge of losing the 65 EMA. So not gonna take a risk here yet, because I think that there might be some more downside coming. But if it can hold above the 65 EMA, then it might be good to at least the VWAP.
The move here is to wait. What do you think about that?
I think, well, for now, yeah, because I just don't like where the volume's at.
Yeah.
The volume just is telling me that it's not time yet. We need to see that start to expand.
Thank you, 13. Okay. Let me get back to this question, because Chop Coop is asking a really, really good question, I think. Where's the line between not panic selling and bag holding? Bernhard actually went on to say, not selling losers and holding, it just hurts. So I'm going to do there's no black and white answer that I can give to this, other than we talk all the time about having a plan for whatever trade that you make for both directions. So when I say, I'll start with the panic selling first. You have a plan. You've only thought about the stock appreciating. You wake up one morning, there's some piece of news, whether it be big bad Trump doing something that's sinking the market, or news specific about the holding that you have. And you think to yourself, oh my, you look at the stock, it's getting pounded, and you think, oh my God, I've got to do something right now. That to me feels like panicking. If you had a plan initially, then you'd have a stop level. There would be no panic. There would be like, okay, well, this news came out. Maybe this trade isn't ready. Darn the president for saying what he said, whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. If you have a plan for that, you're not panicking. You're acting tactically, right? So you've assessed with a clear head at some point in the past, look, if the stock drops to this spot, I'm going to cut my losses. I'll wait to re-enter here. If you don't have that plan and all of a sudden the stock starts dropping and you think to yourself, I'll give it another 15, 30 cents. It'll bounce. It's got to bounce. And it goes down another 15, 30 cents. I'll give it another day. Now you're starting to, that's the process of bag holding. Your first stop is your best stop. Have a plan for both directions for the trade. Have a plan to take profit. Have a plan to get out. That way you can avoid the panic. Chop, let me know if that makes sense. 13, did you have anything to add to this?
I know that the fear is, well, what if it runs after I sell? Sometimes they do. But you know what? That's just the risk you're going to have to take. Would you rather be holding on to something that you know you're probably not going to ever see the green side of, or would you rather just take a small loss, and just watch everybody else get gains in it while you move on to something else that's going to get you profitable? I think it's an easy decision. Have your stops ready. Have an idea of what you're looking to get out of the stock you're trading. know, and this is one of the reasons why I'm mentioning levels of where they could go to the upside and the downside, because these are levels of where you're going to want to either average in if you're trading that way, or put your stop. It's really that simple. Just have an idea of what you're trying to get out of the stock before you hit buy. And if you know what kind of risk you're taking, and you know where and when it's going to be more painful to where it's unbearable, that's where you're going to put your stop. It's all about what you plan to do before you hit buy. So don't just jump into these things and then tell yourself that, it'll turn around. Most of the time they don't.
Well said. Well said. Couple of other really good comments here. Jay, I love this. This is so hard to do, Jay. This is really the mark of an experienced trader. When it feels awful to buy, do it. And it's not easy. Hims at 25, Hood at 33 1 month ago are great examples of this.
Yeah.
I struggle with this, Jay. It is hard. You're absolutely right. But this is one way to handle that. Amanda here, no surprise, another great comment. Bag holding is when you're holding a stock to recover cash, even though your thesis has changed on the stock. I'll give you a really good example. Ondas, ONDS. This is a trade for me. Just straight up, this trade has not worked. I have a thesis here. It is a long-term thesis. It's on it hasn't changed. In fact, the company has actually hit milestones to let me know that the thesis is looking good. I just haven't got the performance from the stock. So I haven't run from it yet. I am bag holding it, but my thesis is still intact. So I've come up with other ways to try and trade around this, like adding to it, being able to sell it when it goes back up. We got earnings tomorrow morning. I mean, if this thing pops above $1, I'm gonna ring the register on this. I'm gonna get myself paid and lower my risk so I can continue to hold it. This is a really good point from Amanda.
I don't consider when I was buying AMD and Broadcom, I was buying it on the way down. So you could say that I was bag holding. I didn't feel that way because
it's all about your thesis.
Right. Because I wanted to get this cheap, and we were getting some pretty good discounts in a company that I think didn't have any business with that valuation being that low. So I was buying AMD. I was buying Broadcom. I'm up now. So I don't think I was bag holding because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew what the plan I had was in case my whole trade thesis didn't work. I can always take some of these losses, apply it to some gains to offset the tax liability. There's always all kinds of different things you can do. But I don't think it's bag holding if you know that if buying into the weakness is part of the plan.
Yeah. Ray is saying, Ryan, are you using covered calls on ONDS? No, not yet. But that might be something I do in the future, right? Selling calls against the stock that I own. If the stock doesn't go up, I just collect the money. If it does go up, I get called away at a gain. That is definitely something. To think about. No, I'm not executing that at the moment. You're welcome, Coop. I hope that's helpful.
Getting asked about Dollar General and Gap.
Okay.
I've noticed that Dollar General has pulled back off of its near 100 highs.
Let's go.
But that's okay.
We've been waiting for this to pull back. I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yeah. I'm going to be in this for a while. I'm really happy with where I got it, and if it continues to pull back, I'll likely just add more. But this is a long-term play for me. I think that the business has done really well. They've opened a lot of stores, especially in the rural areas where there's literally only a Dollar General. This was going to be more of a recession play and a China tariff play. That seems to be put on hold for now, which is the reason why I think it's coming down so much. But it's just getting to a point where it's going to be another buy opportunity. I think that this is not done yet. Just as some profit taking, because that was a really nice move off the lows, like in the 60s. So I would think that this is just some profit taking, and this will. I'm confident this will turn around and go higher. This needs some time to do that. Now, as far as the other one goes, Gap, right? This one is having a really nice day, which is in contrast to some of these other names, but it's very extended. As a matter of fact, this one has, since the bottoming that was taking place in early April, this has gone on a 51, almost 52%. We'll call it 52% run. This is very extended, I think. 72 RSI, almost 73. We're coming up to an area where there has been selling before. That's going to be about 2650, somewhere between 2650. The last time we were up here was in December. So could we get a breakout? Maybe. But I think that this is going to be another one where if you've been in this for a while, it might be a good idea to trim some profits, or if that's part of your plan, to take short-term gains. But if it's long-term gains, then I think you're getting an opportunity at some point soon here where price will come down and you can add more.
Okay. Good stuff there, DG and Gap. Thanks, 13, for doing that.
Sure.
You folks are mentioning ICCT. What's going on with ICCT? Yikes.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. It couldn't get that movement beyond the 326, 330 area, so everybody gave up.
Develop here is asking, why is ICCT so interesting? Has it news or something? Does it have news or something is what he means. I am not interested in this. I'm not trading this. I thought 13 called this action perfectly earlier today, to be quite honest with you. This was interesting yesterday because it had news. Today is day 2. Yeah. Maybe it entered some relative volume scans just because of the outsized volume it had yesterday. But that's what's going on. It's behaving today based off news on yesterday, after its initial move yesterday. Actually, now that we have this here, it's actually pretty clear that this has created a downtrend. So we'll leave this on here and see how this goes. But I'm not interested in this. I'm just, the group seems to be, and that's why.
Yeah, it had news yesterday that it reached a settlement to retain assets. That sent it up. The change in volume relative to how it normally trades is why it's getting a follow through today. So all the interesting news came yesterday. It's not as interesting today, but there are some traders that wanted to push this up higher, but it looks like they only did that so a lot of them could exit. That's why you had that knife there.
Yeah.
So this is likely going to be not trading as well for the rest of the day. Wouldn't surprise me if it tries to push up higher than where it's at right now. But if you're going to try and trade this, just keep an eye on the volume and make sure you have your levels defined. Don't bag hold this one.
That was a good question there. SEPN, Barron's note is out, might help. I didn't see that in there. What's the note about? SEPN does look like it's curling up here. Will, hello, Will, mentioning Soundhound, SOUN. This one continues to surprise. Soundhound here. Nice little curl here. Had an impulse move right off that open. I'm not sure we get back up there, but so far we're testing the VWAP right now. We'll see what happens if we move through that VWAP. Will, what do you think? Does it break this VWAP and go higher? You tell me.
I still got my 1245 level out there. We breached that and came right back in earlier this morning. 1265 is actually the high of the day. If we are going to break out and go higher, there's some size at 12 that's looking to get taken out right now. I think that likely will happen. This could go on, back up to the highs that it made earlier. I think the volume is going to tell you if that's going to happen or not. But closing over VWAP multiple times, that's the next thing that we want to see happen. Some of these are just, this has not been the greatest morning. Lots of back and forth, mostly going sideways. I mean, look at the SQQQ and the TQQQ. Not really doing a whole lot of anything, just sideways mostly.
Yeah, I will say that today's not a great day for new positions for me. I don't feel great about initiating anything. The only thing I'm thinking about, and it has to do with the group here, I'm thinking the same thing you guys are. Where's the bottom in UNH? Where do we actually buy this, and when perhaps do we buy this? Because I'm with you guys. I see the same thing. I see how this thing is almost cut in half from April 11th. Yeah. This is a huge. If this were a move up, we would say watch for a knife or a pullback. That's literally what we would do. This is moving in the opposite direction. I'm wondering the same thing here. Just kind of watching it. Don't feel great about it yet, though.
Yeah, we heard a lot of interesting levels yesterday. Like we were, some folks said 300, some were saying about here, and in happy hour we had folks calling for, I think it was like 230s, something like that. Yeah, somewhere around the 230 was a spot somebody was looking at. Another person was looking at 270 or 285. So we had a whole range of spots where people were thinking that this could bottom, and it mostly has to do with that consolidation from February of 2018 till about when the pandemic hit. And looks like Lucy just went lower, lost its 200 EMA. This one was already a bearish looking pattern this morning, but it took all morning to finally break that down. ICCT is still trying to come back up. SEPN, that turned back up after hanging out around the 65 EMA for a little bit, almost up to VWAP.
Real quick here, love this. Pete saying not only is it down 50%, but the PE is back in line / low, so it's not as expensive anymore. I wouldn't expect it to go back to 600, but maybe 450 if it stabilizes. Still a good return if you're patient. Okay, so this is again spot on here. When these stocks move down from these huge levels, I don't think it is reasonable to assume that they're going to go right back to the same level. I know we've seen it sometimes. The one that comes to mind here is HIMS. Like look at this. Like it came all the way back down. It got cut in half, and now it looks like it's going. I don't think this is the norm. I actually think this is the minority. So I think what Pete is saying here is very, very smart. And it's producer.
You okay?
What the F are you doing? No, producer just totally, I'm giving him crap. His target here of about 4 to 450. This is about a 50% retracement of the entire move. That seems reasonable. Furthermore, I think that the better trade here is instead of trying to catch a V bottom bounce, which is what we all want, right? Fast gains, like more money, Lambos, right? That's all what we want. That's not always the case. So I think that if you have a longer approach here, like Pete was saying here, still a good return if you're patient. If you're going to take this trade, understand that some of the rebuilding here might take some time. That's not bad. If you're buying stock, that's your biggest asset is time. How do you think it got to 600? It took time to do that. So I think sometimes we look at these big moves down and we think, God, this has got to go right back to the same spot. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And you can actually trade around that pretty good. Pete, I think that's really good stuff there. Also, JG, I don't want to ignore you. If you want UNH, and I would advise, I know I'm kind of adding to what you said here. I would say if you like this long term, dollar cost averaging now is not a bad idea. Yeah. Again, this has a lot to do with your time horizon. If you want short gains, maybe it's not today. Maybe it sells off tomorrow. If you want long-term gains, this is a huge move down. What is the book value of this? Just out of curiosity. Okay, book value is 100, so maybe that's not the greatest one here. Book value is 100, so we're still overbooked. But in any case, if you're looking for this long-term, a lot depends on your time frame, is what I'm trying to say here. Don't necessarily think it's all going to come right back. Joe here said you heard a lot of BS from me yesterday. I thought the bottom was 320. Joe, I don't think that's BS. I think you're trying to make a call. You're trying to analyze things. We're going to be wrong on some of our calls here. That's just how it goes. Paul Tudor Jones and Warren Buffett are wrong too. Tim Melvin is wrong sometimes, just not very often. I wouldn't call it BS. I think that you're trying to make a call. But this, again, proves another point. This is why you need to have a plan. Or if the stock moves in either direction. Don't just bank on your plan being right.
Yeah, and I'm really considering going along with UNH. I bought this a long time ago, back in the during the pandemic, and I sold. I think it was last year I sold this. So now I'm starting to think that this is going to be the time where I jump back into it because I don't have any health insurance companies in my portfolio anymore.
Okay, there you go.
Looking
sounds
good.
Like it sounds like you have a little bit of a diversification plan in there as well. Yeah,
that's my long-term portfolio is pretty well diversified.
Izzy here saying, I think under 300 is a buy. Someone else said this yesterday. I think we talked about this yesterday, actually. I think you're right, Izzy.
Yeah, I like it at 300. Under 300 is even better. Absolutely.
Jay Harris asked for some levels on Lilly. Someone else asked about Lilly this morning. We never ended up covering it. Here is Lilly. The big one here, Jay Harris. What happens at that 500 day? The last time we were down here, we bounced off of it, but it was choppy. It wasn't the clean V bounce. But this level to me here, 723, and then I would actually extend that to 700. If this shows any type of support action around this level, I think you can probably try trading this. There's more macro stuff here, and a lot of that depends on what you think is going to happen. Is the new health and human or health secretary going to be a net negative for stocks like this? How big are the GLPs going to be? What inning of that story are we in here? You can make a case for either direction here on Lilly. I would really be paying attention 700 to 723, and we're almost there. So I think you can be a little bit patient on this.
Yeah, I do like your point about the 500. It just, if I take the moving averages away, the chart doesn't look very good. I agree. I think 700 needs to hold. I'm kind of looking at 600 as a potential spot where it could go. That's just the way it looks to me. But let's see what happens at 700. It just the whole chart just doesn't look that great. It looks like we're set up to go lower. That's just me, though. That's my opinion.
And actually, I think your next level lower here for this to maybe consolidate at probably this 640. I would, I almost might even say 575 to 640.
Let's see if these longer term moving averages. What's interesting is that you have the 50-month and the 200 week pretty close together, and that's going to be down around let's see, the 200 week is 523.56. The 50-month is 507.46. I don't know if we're going to see the price go that low, but if it does, there's some moving averages that are set up there to catch it.
RR grinding higher, Lunar curling back up towards yesterday's highs. I know 13, you had mentioned that briefly earlier today. Looks like that's getting going here again. We got some requests here for Rigetti. That's RGTI. This has actually made a pretty decent move after poor earnings earlier this week. This actually getting most of it back here. One of the key levels for Rigetti to watch here today is going to be this 1123, 1125, whatever that exact high was. Definitely going to be a level. This thing did a really good job defending 10.
Yeah, Jay, that's one of the things that Trump says he wants to try and fix. This is how we're paying for so much for stuff over here where other countries are not. We'll see if that ends up making good on that.
I don't know how that's going to work either, but I like the plan.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's just see if he can execute. Not a whole lot of stuff looking really good at the moment.
No, but you know what is looking good? We've got all access coming up in 4 minutes. Then after all access, we're going to go to story trading. And then after story trading, we're going to go to futures fever. So what looks good is the rest of the day here today for us. That's for sure.
I'll take it.
Right? ICCT, Izzy? Let's take a look and see where that ends up at. Here's the trend line that we drew, Izzy. This really seems to be the story here. Hasn't broken down yet. So was... I think it was SEPN we got asked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I had said that, maybe wait for the afternoon, see if we get some more volume to tell the story. I think you could probably say the same thing here about ICCT. This gave up that initial pop. The news was yesterday. There's really nothing going on here. If the volume, that's a big if the volume starts to ramp, maybe we start taking out the VWAP, testing this trend line. You can get some levels from that. We'll see, though. I don't know that that's going to happen. Bilal's asking if we have any thoughts on GME. GME is actually pumping here today. GME is on a multi-day run. So I guess I see why you're asking about this. Thank you for not trolling Tim Melvin about this. The last guy that did that got body bagged. I don't want to see anyone do that. So that's pretty sweet. I don't have any angle on GME. I'm basically just looking at the chart here. This $20 level seems to be pretty sticky. See if we get above 34 here. What do you think, 13? You got another resistance level in here. I guess we're at this one. 29.30 might be a resistance level.
We're from that candle on March 26th. So
I think that is March 26th. Pretty sure.
27.32 is that's a low. The high was 29.80. Let me see here. It does look like 29.75, somewhere around there. That does look like a big resistance area. If you draw a line right about there, 29.75, and look to the left, you got that that March 26th print there. You got July 17th from 2024. That goes all the way back to the pandemic. As far as that level, that was support and resistance level going all the way back to then.
Okay. So Bilal, thank you, 13. Here's my thought. This is your next key level. What's going to happen here? Now again, I still think that this stock is kind of memey, so I'm not really sure how great these are. Okay. It's time for all access. Let's get over there. Right. 13, let's start wrapping it up here. Any closing words for the group here?
Hey, it was kind of a bit of a boring day. Not a lot of volume in the market. Went sideways, but we've been looking for some sideways price action in the broader market ever since we had these runs take us up here. So if we continue to go sideways, we kind of get what we're looking for, but we also want to see some good movers. So hopefully we'll get some more of those tomorrow. We'll find them, we'll trade them, we'll make some money. Take care, folks. I'll see you then.
All right. Thank you, 13. Have yourself a good one. We will see you tomorrow. 13's departure leaves room. I know you thought I was going to say Dan, and you thought I was going to say a Lululemon pants model. Nope. We got Kevin here. Kevin, how you doing here today? You do any hand or pants modeling for anybody that we should be made aware of?
I was going to say hopefully the next best thing. I do some pretty good charting, but not so much pants modeling.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? And you're probably in the right place here. Really good stuff there, Kevin. And again, thanks for filling in. Thanks for all that you do. What do you got coming up for us on All Access here?
Oh, man. We have Brett Richards, the CEO and Executive Director of Pasofino Gold Limited. He's going to be telling us what's going on with their company, give us an overview and some other things that's going on, and I'm really excited for it.
Okay, awesome. Let me get out of your hair. Take it away. All Access starts right now.
Awesome. What's up, Zingers? Welcome back to another All Access. I've got a great guest for you today, Brett Richards, the CEO and Executive Director of Pasofino Gold Limited. The TSXV ticker is VEIN. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today, so make sure you guys stick around because All Access starts right now. Brett, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I'm great, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm excited for this interview. How's it going? What's going on?
Yeah, Pasofino. I think the last time we chatted, it was we had a number of things on our plate. Today, we have a very clear focus on a way forward to update our project. And for those of you who don't know, we have a gold project, 4 million ounce gold project in Liberia that has a feasibility study done. And now we're in the process of updating it. And hey, our goal is to get this into production as soon as possible.
That's awesome. So could you give us and the viewers who may have not seen you on the last few All Accesses a little bit of an overview of your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pasofino is traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol VEIN. We've had a very bumpy ride over the last kind of 6 to 8 months, but we have 100% of the Dugbe Gold Project in Liberia, and it's a 4 million ounce gold project, open pit mine, with a bankable feasibility study done. But that study was done in 2022, and over the next 6-7 months, I'm going to update that study. We're going to get this through project financing. We're going to get this into construction, and away we go. We're probably 2.5 to 3 years away from gold production, and this is a really exciting entry point, a really exciting story right now.
That's great. So that sort of leads to my next question. Could you tell us about that Dugbe Gold project in Liberia and what expectors should be expecting in 2025?
Yeah, so in 2025, we're going to update the feasibility study to a normal kind of bankable status. And the reason we have to do that is because the operating expenses and the capital expenses are 3 years dated. So we'll update that. Plus, we used a $1,600 gold price when we did the feasibility study 3 years ago. Today, the gold price is double that. So we had stellar economics out of the last feasibility study. I think we're going to see just really, really great economics come out of this study. So it is something that will take us about 9 months to do. All our permitting will be done in that period of time, and we'll be sitting here next year, Kevin, with a Class A mining license and a construction decision to get building this.
Wow, that's amazing. So what makes Liberia so important to the larger gold conversation?
You know what? I don't talk about this enough, and I have been in this business over 35 years. I've built 4 mines in Africa in very difficult jurisdictions now. So I've built mines in the Congo, in Burkina, in Mali, in Sierra Leone. Liberia is probably the greatest and safest jurisdiction to do business in Africa, and I put it up against anything. The mines department, the government are so supportive of builders of businesses and mining companies to come in and they work with us to build a proper business there, and that's a little bit unusual in Africa, but in Liberia it's really, really strong. And so very supportive, great country, strong U.S. presence, big U.S. embassy, trades in U.S. dollars, and they speak English.
Wow, that's very great, important stuff right there. And as a gold trader myself, I had no clue about that in Liberia. So thank you for that. You think you could tell us a little bit about the cooperation and support agreement between Hummingbird PLC and Nyoko Resources?
Yeah, absolutely. Hummingbird Resources was a London-listed company, and they recently got restructured, and they're now owned by a West African bank called Chorus Bank. And trust me, it is very good to have a bank as your major shareholder and a partner in all of this. So we sat down and we basically said, what's the framework to work together? Both on strategic activities. What do we need to do to create long-term sustainable value? What do we need to do to put this mine into construction and ultimately into production? And we agreed on that. And then we agreed on a funding protocol whereby they are going to fund pro rata share of the funding required for the next 2 years. And then we both agreed just at a really good protocol that since we're aligned to get this mine into production, we will have a standstill agreement whereby, I won't sell the company and they won't make an offer for the company. And collectively, this is a project that's going to generate, when it's at full capacity, $300 or $400 million a year of free cash flow. And we're trading today at $50 million market cap. So there's significant uncoupling of our valuation to our inventory and to our potential free cash flow in 3 years' time. So our partner has said, we will work with you to unlock that value, and we will participate in project financing. So they've made it very, very, I wouldn't say easy. What they've made it is very simple to understand as we move forward as a partnership for the market to say, hey, you know what? This is completely de-risked here in a great jurisdiction and a really big resource.
Wow, that's great. So it sounds like they didn't really make it easy, but they sort of streamlined it for us. So that's great. So do you mind, lastly, why is gold still so important in today's market? With the whole crypto, people talking Bitcoin, but in my opinion, I love gold. What are your thoughts?
Well, hey, it is a it has been a natural hedge against inflation for decades, And I think when people want, to go to safety, and let's face it, the last couple of years have been probably the most volatile in this world, whether that's geopolitical instability, whether that is, political turnarounds and turnovers from as a result of the U.S. election. It's wide sweeping, foreign policy out of the U.S. It really destabilizes the economy. Look what the Dow has done. Look what the markets have done in the last 2 months based on the trade wars and the tariff threats. And that has investors nervous because, this volatility is certainly not what they look for in most cases. So they go to gold, and we've seen gold perform in this very tumultuous time. Last year, on a U.S. dollar base, gold went up 26%. So far this year, up 21%. So the gold price has almost doubled from this time last year. So naturally, that's where people are going to. Yes, there are other applications or other instruments that give you leverage to gold, but the hard physical is what people flock towards, and ETFs. And if you want leverage to that, if you want leverage to the gold play, you come into the gold equity space like Pasofino.
Wow, that's great. Brett, I can't thank you enough for your time today. What a great summary of your company. It sounds like you guys have a lot of great milestones that you're going to be hitting in the next 6 to 12 months. I'm really excited. Hopefully we have you on again soon.
Yeah, I really, really look forward to it. This is going to be a really exciting 6 months.
That's great. Guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Thank Brett so much for joining us today. All right, guys, that was the CEO and Executive Director of Pasofino Gold Limited, Brett Richards. Their TSXV ticker is VEIN. Now let's get back to the one and only Ryan.
Okay, the one and only Kev. Great job there with that interview. Getting ready for futures fever coming up here. In the meantime, we got the story trading, boys. Good stuff, Kev. We'll see you in a little bit.
See you soon.
All right, that is Kevin. As I just mentioned, though, it's time for can I reuse it? The one and only story trading. Let's check in and see how they think about that. Here's Ben. Here's Rhett, and Saved by the Bell. Here is the Godfather coming in right there. Perfect timing, honestly. Couldn't do that any better. Guys, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. Doing great. I'm very happy with the market, and I think
you sound
Brian,
absolutely thrilled right now, Ben. Like you sound like you're ready to jump out of your chair and just run a marathon.
Well, today's a little bit weird today with some of my picks, but yeah, it's hitting new all-time highs every day in the trade account, and I've been very bullish. We broke over the 200th EMA and QQQ. And for me, that's very meaningful. I think we've been having a short squeeze, obviously, since then. I've pulled the short squeeze since then because it was obvious a lot of people were shorting at the 200th EMA. I mean, who wouldn't made a lot of sense to do that? I think no one expected that China deal. Everyone was caught off guard, and now you have the short squeeze. And makes sense. And I think it's all, look at me. Even me, I still have a high cash position in my retirement account, and I didn't put it all back to work yet, and I need to. So there's a multi-day squeeze. People really caught off guard with that China deal, and that 200th EMA is meaningful. So it's a bull market's back on, risk is back on. Today, having a little bit of difficulty on some of my trades, but hopefully it'll work out by the end of the day.
Okay, real good stuff there. And just really quickly here, before I get out of your hair here real quick, this was a comment from earlier. Food for thought, the financial media all missed this move. CNBC, Goldman, etc. They were all negative a month ago. AA Bears at highs. So many people missed the move. If we do pull back, my guess is it will be shallow. So really good stuff there, being able to fight through all this. Let me get out of your hair. Have a great show. I'll see you in about, 28 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. And you know who didn't miss the move? It was the Godfather knows right here. He had a feeling. I mean, he sniffed it out. I don't know if he predicted that we break above that big 200th EMA, but he really sniffed out that Trump and Besson were jawboning, and he was saying that they had that really good news around the corner. You were absolutely right about that. But I'm not sure that anyone. Did you think that we would have gotten like a China deal like that over the weekend? I was shocked at that.
No, actually, if I were to bet, and I did kind of in effect bet by virtue of not going more long Soxel coming into that weekend, because you have to assume, practically speaking, these things are going to take months to do a trade deal with China, and the posturing on both sides was very, very negative going in, and again, I guess that's all part of the negotiations. But no, I was frankly surprised, and we were coiling right at that 200-day. The market needed a break, was looking for an excuse to consolidate the gains. But then what happens, of course, when you pile through it, is you get this sort of technical effects that take over in the market, right? The big pockets of negative delta exposure that causes further put selling and underlying stock buying as a result, these kinds of things, volatility crushing. So you have that on top of positioning, as Ryan just mentioned. Not only were institutions light, and are they still light relative to where they unwound, going into Liberation Day and the fears over the trade, but on top of that, the hedge fund community has been actively shorting. They've been actively shorting software. They've been actively shorting large cap tech, the hardware names, the AI trade fatigue, all of that, to the tune of about 2 to 1. So both sides have been kind of caught off guard. So you're getting a lot of this pain trade pushing the market higher here.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's going to continue. I don't know that it'll be a straight line up, but we're overbought on the daily. But if you look at the weekly RSI, actually, the weekly RSI to me suggests that we can get to all-time new highs on the QQQ SPY. So we'll see if that plays out. Honestly, I really wouldn't be surprised because, like you said, the positioning, people really caught off guard. There's a lot of money that has to be put to work. So I would not be surprised if we head to new all-time highs in the
market's going to have to digest this move here, for certain. Where that comes, on a
there right now. There you go. Digesting right now.
Happening now.
Yeah,
call it.
off.
I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe there was a headline that we just missed here.
Yeah, I think there was a headline that just came out, especially for this big of a move.
But in any case, maybe not. If you pull out to the 5 or 30-minute chart, it's just still kind of chop, but it is a meaningful candle there to look at. Yeah, let us know, Brett, if you find anything. But in any case, that's a macro, and from my perspective, it's risk. Look, I've been a little bit off on this in terms of the implication. I saw this coming a mile away that we'd squeeze for 3 days or whatever, But for me, the implication of this, at least for my process and my style, is that I have a green light to really get aggressive on individual stocks on catalysts. That's what I do. I'm a catalyst trader on individual stocks. I don't really trade the indices or the mega caps, except on rare occasions. You've executed on this better, the Godfather. I saw you jumped into Soxel and everything, but I, for the most part, avoided indices, ETFs, and mega caps, and I dove right into my process. And to me, that's what I excel in. When we're in a bull market, we're above the key moving averages. That means you get more predictable moves in your small caps and your mid caps and your micro caps. You get more predictable moves when a catalyst comes. At least that's the thesis, and that's what I go by. So I've been focusing on individual companies, and it's been a little bit challenging, really, since Monday. Managed to squeeze in a couple, small outperformances, like 2.5% days. But if I was doing what everyone else does, the rest of FinTwit, they're piling into their TQQQs and QQQ call options and Soxels, like you'd be up 5, 10, 15% a day over the last few days. But, I've been focused on my individual stocks, and it's been a little harder than I expected, to be honest with you, over the last few days. So, some things on my radar today, some big caps, actually. That being said, I do trade Tesla on occasion. And yesterday in our community, we nailed this 225 breakout on Tesla. 325, I'm sorry, 325 was right here. 325 breakout. I called the target of 343. But then I got very excited over this dancing robot video last night. And I said, you know what? Let's go for 360. Let's break this resistance. It looks like so far it's having I said 343. I guess the market decided it's 345. So it's having a tough time with that resistance level. But if it does break that, 360 is next. And I am in some TSLL and some call options on that. After I went through this whole thing about I focus on the small caps. But that's one thing I'm looking at. And another thing I'm looking at is this eToro IPO. It's just getting too high, man. I was, when this was initially indicated for 11.20, it was indicated to open at $59.50, $60. And I was like, okay, I'll grab a few shares at 60 when it opens. Now it's all the way indicated $65. They're having trouble finding the right price. We're now almost an hour late. But this is something I'm definitely interested in playing because of what we saw happen with Bull on day 2 of their de-SPAC, because of what we saw happen with the NMAX IPO and just the general market conditions. So I'm watching eToro. And I'll pause there if you guys want to react to anything I just said, and then I'll come back later and talk about some other smaller caps.
Yeah. I just want to talk about why I was focused on the large cap names here versus the small cap names, and I still kind of am. It has to do with positioning, right? Like, look at the last week. I think last week when we were on the show, I was saying, hey, my screens look like I'm George Soros. I've got the US dollar over here, I got interest rates over here, I got TLT. I'm looking at all of the indices. I can't look at individual stocks anymore because correlations have all gone to 1, and it doesn't matter, right? And so your point is dead on, that there's now a more constructive market backdrop. You're seeing, and I think you mentioned this in your morning call this morning, that there's a flood of news releases coming out, not just earnings news releases, but news releases, catalytic type news releases that companies. And they sit on them when the market backdrop is lousy, because they're not going to get any sort of return for putting that news out into the market. So, that's coming back. So it is more constructive for these smaller cap names. Having said that, when you see the markets, like I think we went green for the year yesterday on the S&P, right? But yet mega cap tech is still down like 5 to 7% for the year. And again, that's positioning. That's the wind down of the U.S. exceptionalism trade, right? That's the international money that's not come back yet into the market. So, for this market to continue to make 2 highs, the 2 leading sectors have to participate. Financials have to participate, and mega cap tech has to participate. It's just math based on the weightings in the indices, right? So, and if you looked at the earnings, like we had blockbuster numbers from Meta, blockbuster numbers from Microsoft. Google seems to be doing okay here, despite these fears of Apple, dropping them with search, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that group continues to be a leader as we go into the second half of the year, and this is why I think there's just, from a risk reward basis, more low hanging fruit there. There's obviously less individual stock risk to big cap names, and of course all of the levered ETFs that you can use as proxies to play those. So that's why my focus has been where it has been. It's just been, I'm making that transition. I'm much more comfortable playing Peter Lynch than I am playing George Soros. But when macro takes over the market, as it has, thanks to Trump and the big stick he's carrying with tariffs, you have to play that game.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job. Great job pivoting to that. Like, I just have a passion for trading individual companies on Catalyst. So it's like, it's my go-to. I go back to it so quickly, maybe prematurely. So you did a great job with those pivots. And because I know that's you too. You love that too. Like,
I would much rather do that. I'd much rather spend my day doing a bottom-up dig on something that I think is interesting or mispriced.
Right.
So,
not only that, I've spent over the last 3-4 months an inordinate amount of time just digesting macro news and politics and stuff like that, which takes away from my time researching individual stocks. So like, I have, like, the last 2 days I haven't. I don't look at QQ. I don't even look at the chart usually. So I'm like, all right, now I have a little more time to research individual stocks. I'm just so anxious to get back into that mode. But great job focusing on what's working now rather than quickly going back to what I know you like to do. Also, focus on the individual stocks. So
it's great because I think there is an opportunity here to go back to some of these themes that paid us so well at the end of last year. Right, we're starting to see it in nuclear. We're starting to see money flow back into drones, into LiDAR, into robots, into fintech. Has just been an exceptional trade here. And, I have to say, before I hand it back to you, the one thing that is really, really underappreciated in this market, in my opinion, in terms of skating to where the puck will be in the second half of the year, is the fintech trade and the financials trade. You're not seeing a lot of help from the long end of the curve, whether that's the bond vigilantes or what have you. But how can you play that going into an administration that's focused on getting through this big beautiful bill, and then focusing on bank regulation and loosening the strings there? You play the financials, because if the long end of the curve stays stubborn, it's effectively a steepener. That increases net interest margins for financials.
Sorry.
So anyway, I think the leadership is going to go to the banks. Look at DPST, for example. This is an levered ETF on the regional banks, and this is what the administration wants to do, right? They want to help people have money to buy homes, buy cars. The tax deductibility on buying American cars, all of this. This is where, once we get through all this tariff bullshit, this is where the market's focus is going to be. This is where the administration is going to put your focus. And I think there's a great opportunity here, the low-hanging fruit trade still on regional banks. And given the weight of regionals in IWM, that index could do extremely well, going into the latter half of the year.
No, I was just laughing. You're so, by the way, so diverse, and like you understand every part of the market. You participate in every part of the market. Like financials is something I've learned a lot from you about financial. I've never in my life traded banks or financials, until you came to our Discord. And I still don't a lot, but there's a couple of financials I picked up that I follow you on. But yeah, I really focus on consumer things I can touch and feel and understand, right? So I feel like I have an edge in understanding how that product is received, by people, so I'm very narrow focused on technology and consumer products. So this the other thing I was laughing about, a comment here is this: Tesla needs to build robo-taxi and a robot to use in industries, not a dancing robot, with a LOL. And it's just funny. It reminded me of my show this morning where I got really animated. Man, I was tearing up pieces of paper. I was having fun. But yeah, you know what? Like, look, I strongly believe in that sentiment is everything in a way. Even look, I'm into fundamentals. It's important. It's one of our 4 pillars. But the only reason I care about fundamentals is because I know other people care about fundamentals. There are other people out there. They want their dividends at the end of the day. They look at their spreadsheets. So it's important, But at the end of the day, everything is about what the people want to buy. So there might be a group of people that want to buy something because of fundamentals. Well, that's their sentiment, right? So at the end of the day, everything is ultimately about sentiment. And this is why fundamentalists cannot ever understand why Tesla trades the way it does. And I have to tell you, that dancing robot is sending the stock to 360. All right. I don't know exactly the path it gets there, but I wouldn't be surprised if that dancing robot takes Tesla to 360 even today. By the end of the week, a sure bet. But I mean, for folks who only look at the quantitative and the numbers, they're not going to understand the vision that investors have for Tesla, the excitement they have over the long-term future. And that dancing robot was absolutely mind-blowing. And it is something that can impact financials in a big, big way down the line. Maybe you can't model it now, but it gets priced into the stock. I call that sentiment. If you want to try to price it in, you can figure it out. I don't know. But, what's revenue going to be 5-10 years from now, and figure it out and do DCF. But no one does that. No one does it until it's concrete and the company gives guidance on it. That's why it's not priced in from a fundamental perspective. It gets priced in from a sentiment perspective. And when I saw that dancing robot, I was sending it to everybody. I was so excited. I'm like, I got to buy more Tesla because of this dancing robot. That was the most amazing demonstration of a robot, which really unlocks this whole new business for Tesla that will probably be worth hundreds of billions. At least that's the sentiment today. When people see that robot, way, way, way above expectations in terms of the fluidity and the speed and the movements. And of course, just think of all the possible use cases. Now, who knows if it's practical now, if it's gonna, with the costs and the power, and who knows if when it will actually turn into money. But you can see it, you can feel it, you can imagine it. And that imagination is real market value that we call sentiment. And that's why I'm in the Tesla trade. I really would not be surprised to see 360 on Tesla. But anyway, I get very animated about my talk about sentiment. Anyway, let's see. Let me just pivot to a couple individual stocks which have been frustrating me a little bit this morning, but one of them's come back. Look at this Zevra. What a comeback on Zevra. I don't know. I know the Godfather knows you haven't had time to look into it, but this was a massive beat on the top line and on the bottom line. To me, it looked like a breakout quarter in terms of the revenue. It's the highest revenue I've seen in years, probably ever. All right. They have $4 cash, no debt on an $8 stock. It's absolutely like crazy. Look, Cantor Fitzgerald maintaining outperform $25 price target. Yes, this thing went negative for a while. I don't know what the hell's going on here. So a little bit frustrating price action. I think I am now finally green again on it, but I was buying heavily last night and this morning at 820, 825, 826. I bought a little 820, 810. So yeah, I'm actually in the green now, but I was expecting this to explode today and it hasn't. Maybe I'm missing something. It's a little bit frustrating on Zevra today.
You know what I want to bring our attention to real quick is Reddit.
That, yeah.
If this thing is exploding today, up 11%. And if this thing gets above 2610, this thing can really fly.
Look at the short interest. It's 3.5 days to cover. One of the things that I've been pounding the table on since Monday is that basically any highly shorted stock with any sort of good catalyst or good fundamentals, a good recent catalyst, they're all going to be targeted. That's the season we're in. I said in the Discord, tis the season. Right? This is a season to squeeze all these highly shorted companies, and it's going to hit almost all of them. And it's just a matter of timing, especially the ones again that have good recent earnings, good fundamentals, et cetera, et cetera. From what I remember, the Reddit earnings was pretty good on May 2nd. So, you're going to see this is a great time to make money. So nice call out there on Reddit. The other things, feel free to jump in, Godfather, whenever you want, but
you want to talk a little bit about ASTS?
I mean, look, this is one of my largest positions, and I had the right call to kind of avoid this as a trade idea after that earnings call. Even though it is highly shorted, they may come for it, but they did an ATM, and you could see it in after hours when the ATM was announced, the stock lost its momentum, and it hasn't gotten its momentum back. I think this is a $50 stock by the end of the year, but for now, the momentum is gone because they announced that ATM. So I'm staying away from it as far as a trading vehicle right now, and I'm just owning it long term. I added to my long term position actually this week after the earnings.
Nice. Yeah, I still own ASTS for long term hold.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but they need to get into actual cash flow. So
which is second half of the year. It's pretty imminent at this point.
I am surprised though that the short position hasn't gone anywhere. It must be otherwise hedged, but. Look, this thing, let's just keep doing what has been working on the name, right? Which is kind of, trading around the levels here. Yeah. Sort of, you buy it in the low 20s and you sell it in the high 20s until, at some point you're going to cross the Rubicon on cash flow. This thing is going to start doing, what it ought to be doing, which is, trading for the cash cow that it is going to become. And it will become a long-term compounder. And at that point, you'll just have a bottom left to upper right type trade.
Godfather, sorry, someone's asking for your advice. Tell people how to get to your profile and get into your Discord. It says, how do I reach out to the Godfather for advice? Someone's asking. Alex Pete, if you can let him know how to do that.
Well, you can DM me on X, and if you go into my bio on X, you'll see the Linktree link that'll take you right here to our Discord, Story Trading. And I've not been posting much on X because all the good stuff goes into the Discord, and I'm spending.
And we're working on it, like a lot of other Discords. The principles of it, they just put in alerts now and then, and that's it. But like Godfather and I, maybe we're a little crazy. Maybe we shouldn't do this, but we're like on it all day long, like 12 hours a day.
Engaging with everybody, and it takes a lot of time. I frankly don't have time to post on X because my due diligence folder just keeps filling up here on the Discord for folks. And I mean, less than $1 a day. Why wouldn't you be here anyway?
For now, I don't know. I think some people telling me it should be like $100 a day with the value we're giving. We're minting a lot of millionaires in our Discord this year. But look at this.
Yeah, so the handle to get on his X is just right there, right here. The Godfather knows it's at SMantle. So just look it up there.
Look at this WeRide, by the way. So I have an 1150 swing target on WeRide. I bought the dip this morning with call options that I flipped already, but I have a core that I bought this morning as well. Pretty nice size position. Look at this. This is going 1150. I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, or Friday, but most likely by Friday. It's just a magnet. So WeRide looking good. Look at this strength. Beautiful. Some of this money from Pony going into WeRide. Let's see.
I think so.
I like that. I like that. Pony
be.
down, WeRide up. That make me want to buy more WeRide right now. I got to check my allocation level.
I mean, the valuation differential between these two is shocking to me. You got Uber invested in both of them. You know, I realize the way they're approaching the markets are slightly different, but you know, Pony's been a massive beneficiary in terms of flow of funds, and WeRide has just kind of been you know, lackluster. So yeah, there's definitely a catch-up trade there.
Just increase my WeRide position there. Intraday may be a bad time. It's a little resistance might pull back here, but that's a good sign to see Pony down and WeRide up. That's actually one of the things I'll give you. I definitely use ChatGPT. By the way, I Grok also, but I actually like ChatGPT much better for my financial research. But one of the things that it said to look for as a catalyst breakout inflection point for WeRide is to it said, and I didn't even prompt it really about this. I said, hey, take a look at the news on Uber and Pony and WeRide, and let's just have a chat. Let's do a comparative analysis. And I went back and forth with it. And it said the thing to watch for on WeRide is to watch for this rotation of money. I didn't even prompt it. It's to me. It's like watch for Pony to go down and WeRide to go up, and that's your sign that, you know, WeRide can explode towards those targets. So very interesting that it picked up on that, and now we're seeing it right now. So that's WeRide.
Man, Tesla's getting a lot of publicity today on.
Yeah, I got to tell you that dancing robot, it's going to hit all the common folks.
Have you not seen the latest one, the Cybertruck?
I have not been on X all day, to be honest with you. I've just been trading it on my charts.
And then here's the latest one. Tesla, Elon Musk meets with Qatar Investment Authority chairman.
I don't know, but in any case, in a little SEPN trade, this is not a swing. There's a little day trade for me on this Novo Nordisk news. These trades are tough. I've very often they disappoint. I don't know, Godfather, if you looked at this, but 200 million up front, 2.2 billion possibly over time. Very often these trades are much harder than you think. So I'm not sure, who always takes the other side of these kind of catalysts, but there's always
which name, Ben? You broke up on my end. Which
SEPN.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't looked at that name at all. Sorry.
Yeah, it's some sort of GLP-1 deal with Novo Nordisk, 200 million up front. So, I got in, I'm playing it. My position's probably a little bigger than it should be, but yeah, these tend to disappoint. And these catalysts with big pharma, where there's a big payment up front and then milestone like that. I've traded these many times, and they almost always disappoint for some reason. If you do the math and you're like, okay, 200 million, that's half the market cap. And now, they have a big runway. And now look at, if you try to math it out and quantitatively, it looks like it should go higher. It always has a hard time. There's always someone taking the other side of these trades when they do these big pharma deals with them, big payment up front. And I'm not sure, the logic behind it or whatever, but that's why I'm not going to make this a swing. I've had bad experiences with this kind of catalyst. So it's a little bit difficult right now. I have to check if I'm in profit, but
Reddit broke that key level right there. So 130 is the next target for in play.
Look at the technicals on Reddit. Wow, that is beautiful. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh, right there, 126.10. Yeah, that's clear. Oh, that's so easy and clear. It was a double top.
And it broke. Yeah.
Well, 127.27 kind of. But yeah, that's good enough. Let me move to the weekly. On the weekly, it's such a beautiful breakout here. Yeah, 130 to 143. 137 to 143. Go up here. Yeah, I would say maybe this thing can have a multi-day move to 137 to 143. Yeah,
without a doubt.
That's a very clear breakout, and eToro is still not live. Well, the dancing robots are making a push. They're trying to push that Tesla up.
We should talk about the earnings that we've got coming up for the latter half of this week, right? It's a small cap focused week. We got all the big cap, mega cap.
The Laser tonight, Arcat tonight, TMC.
You got CoreWeave tonight. That's going to impact.
CoreWeave is tonight.
Yeah, it's their first quarter as a public company. We've obviously had a nice bounce off of the low on NBIS. And I think that there's some focus coming back as some confidence comes back into some of these neo cloud names, which are sort of the second derivative plays on AI, outside of the NVIDIAs and, the tier one hardware suppliers. So I think that's going to be a big market focus. That's certainly where I'm going to be focused. There's a couple of other names, SPIR.
Speaking of, sorry, there's a good time to mention NBIS. Oh, we're running out of time. We'll do SPIR after that. But NBIS, a name you well, actually, no. I mean, you championed it, but I remember this was what was that hedge fund? The Citron. It was Citron that was a catalyst. I remember Citron was a catalyst that made us all aware of that. So I've been in it since then, on and off different sides. But this is a 200 DMA break, very significant. Added to is one of my larger retirement account positions. Now I added to it on the 200 DMA break, and this morning they won some sort of contract with Israel to build a supercomputer in Israel. So things are looking good there. So
people are starting to recognize that there's hidden value, both in their autonomous division, their database division, some of their other, tangential AI related businesses. So there's a portfolio in there that I think is worth between $10 and $15 a share. So if you strip out the cash, well, actually you kind of need to include the cash. You're going to suck all of that up to build out their capex. But this thing sees a 4 handle on it. I've been consistent on that view. That second half of 2025, you see that again. It spiked there, obviously earlier in its retrading history, but that's where it deserves to be from a fundamental value basis.
All right. That brings us to Ryan. We have 1 minute left. Was there a question, or could Godfather have a chance at SPIR real quick?
Go for it. But
I'm just going to mention it because they report the stock has not recovered from the teens where it was trading. They sold their maritime division, which essentially retires all of their debt, puts them in a net cash position. And now they're a satellite company selling information. Selling information has endless margins because you can just sell the same information over and over again.
Oh my God, eToro is at $70 now. Sorry.
Wow.
Indicated at 70. It's not going to let me in, Ryan. I wanted to get some at like $60.
Yeah, I had actually highlighted that one this morning that was coming. And what was that thing priced at? Like in the 50s, right? 40s to the 50s. Now it's indicated.
Price at 52.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. And then dancing robots, didn't have that on my bingo card today. But
did you see the video?
I did not.
My God. Go see the video. You're going to go buy Tesla right after you watch it.
Okay. You know what? There you go. There's your catalyst. We actually were trading Tesla here recently pretty well. All right, guys, really good stuff here. Look forward to next week. Hopefully we hear more about that trade or how the dancing robots actually impacted your life. Good stuff from all of you here today.
All right. Take care, Ryan.
Take care. Have a good one. Nice haircut.
You're the first person on the stream that said anything. Good stuff here. Okay.
Your wife will be a happy woman when you get married.
When I get married. Here we go. All right. We're going to end right on that because I don't have a comeback for that. Ben, thanks. Rhett, thanks. Godfather, thanks as always. Really good stuff here from the group. All right, folks, we're going to send you over to Futures Fever, another guy that has a pretty decent haircut. We're going to send you over